Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, Galeria Smite fans, and welcome to the finals here of the Galeria Smite League. I am Supersonic Blur, and joining me for the desk to break down our finals here is the Yeasty from the Easty. Good old East. At least I hope they are. Yeast,
hello, everyone. I am here, hello.
Fantastic. I see it was a deep sigh over the Yeast. I apologize, but it's good to see you here. We've got KNZ or Kumin and Zoomin versus Hakai here over the finals. Now, because of the way the tournament is, this is a best of 5, but because Kumin and Zoomin did make their way through on the top side of this elimination bracket, they will be playing with a 1-game lead coming on into the game 1 here. And these two teams, you know, looking down the notes and how they've been on the scoreboards, it's been a dominant performance coming through so far from Kumin and Zoomin. Yeah,
it's fair to say they're coming as the favourites. They've won 14 out of the 15 sets so far this season. So you would kind of expect them to win this one, or that's what most people are, but we'll see.
Yeah, it looks like it. We've got picks and bans already going on through. The Chronos ban here was a big one for me. I was looking at going, all right, I guess we want to take that away, but Guan Yu first pick here for Kumin and Zoomin. Really like this pick. We've been seeing a little bit of this on the solo lane side of things. Kind of a leaned into God for the side of Kumin, so they seem to be really looking to run that one. But Scylla as well. Now, you'll have to excuse me, I've been a little away from things. Maui is the newest God, but Scylla, she's a good late game, but I was always concerned that you're not going to get there. Is she doing okay now?
Yeah, I think she got some buffs that's really helped her out, and also the itemization at the moment with the Book of Thoth stacking build in mid. It's kind of what you want from Scylla anyways for late games, so that all kind of helps her out, makes her a lot better, I think.
Not too bad, not too bad. And Maui as well to help support that. What better than putting in one person for I'm a Monster, but how about an entire team with that ultimate? But Kumin and Zoomin have a hell of a good, strong front line here. Guan Yu and Kepri follow that up with a Ravan for dive. I'm liking these top 3.
Yeah, I think it's a very strong top 3. Not entirely sure how they've got it, to be honest. I'd maybe look at the Cthulhu ban as to maybe why they've got the Guan Yu. I'm not sure why the Cthulhu ban is there, but strong draft for sure from Kumin and Zoomin so far.
It's looking like it. Let's see if Hakai can round out something, and it looks like this is a tried and true cheese comp here to try and even out the score. Scylla Naja is a tale as old as time. Like, even back like Cringe Crew days, this is a comp that you'd see at tournaments, so no surprise here. And it does feel to me a little bit of a one and done kind of a pick. Like, you don't get to get Scylla fed in a game 3.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's very telegraphed, but unless you have beads up or some sort of peel from support or one of your team, there's not really much you can do about it. That's why it's a tried and tested combo.
As we make our way into the second round of bans, Vulcan taken off the table, as is Bologna as well. What kind of things are you expecting to see here from these second phases of bans?
I like the Bologna ban because Azza plays a lot of Bologna in solo lane for Hakai. I'd expect another big burst mage. Never mind, Merlin's taken off the table, not a burst mage, as it were, but and probably something that Azza's comfortable on in solo. Yeah, there is. Could call it something Azza's been on before.
Yeah, looking down on some of the notes that we've got here, a lot of these gods feeling very much up there. Bologna and Lane, the top 2 most played gods for Azza, so taking them off the table here. The Guan Yu's gone as well, so we're pushing down further into the brackets. But Hakai now here to round it out, looking for likely a solo and an ADC, and they go to Danzaboro here. This has been a kind of pick that I have heard a lot about. Some people love it, some people really don't like it, though.
It's a very feast or famine pick. If you're ahead, it's really, really good at pushing that lead. If you're behind, kind of hard to stay alive. There's not too much escape, and I feel like if this Danza gets a little bit behind, or if the front line of Kumin and Zoomin get ahead, I don't feel like there's anywhere to hide for this Danza Bureau at the moment.
It doesn't look like it. And Kuman and Zoomin looking to round out their draft. A mid and an ADC are what they need, and they're currently hovering two pretty decent ones. A lot of range on these, and the Giannis here. They're always key talking point. We've got a fantastic frontline dive from Kuman and Zoomin. Now you let them have the mobility to get anywhere on the map instantly. Absolutely love it. Hoyi is the final lock in here to try and match up to Danzaboro. And it does do pretty well. I feel like these two hunters really want to try and scrap out for that lead early, and it can be really difficult to get it off of either of them.
Yeah, it's one of those matchups as well, Danzaburo and Hoyi, where it could go either way. It depends how they play the matchups and who gets ahead early, to be fair. I would favour the Hoyi personally, but I guess we'll just have to see how the game goes.
And looking at it with the Hoyi, the Khepri, it's always pretty decent as we do round out the draft here for Hakai. And it's going to be a Camazotz solo. Very aggressive looking draft here from Hakai, but the biggest concern for me is synergy. Like, aside from mid and jungle, where's the rest of the team comp's identity here?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I guess they're hoping to try and have split-up fights, because Camazotz split-up is pretty good. If the Naja and Scylla can stay together, pretty good, and then Maui peels for the Danzaburo. But, as you say, I don't see much synergy there myself, personally.
Yeah, whereas on the other side, look at Kuman and Zoomin. I mean, you've got a Khepri who you said, oh, Naja needs to burn beads. Don't forget, Khepri is a CC immunity, or a cleanse at the very least. So if you time it, you're okay. And even if you don't time it, you still revive on landing if you get hit by that ult. So kind of gross.
Yeah, absolutely. The Khepri ults are going to be pretty huge this game. If they can be timed correctly, then they'll be a big factor.
And as for the rest of the team comp, I love this comp from Kuman and Zoomin. I think it's safe to say we may have a slight favorite towards Kuman and Zoomin here, but Hakai's still got some be able to picks here that they can look for. There's kind of a pick comp here. Hopefully, with picks and bans done, we'll be able to see just how game 2 is won. We're going to go ahead and throw it on over to Judas and Hayzer to break down this game.
All right, thank you, Supersonic Blur and East on the desk. Welcome, everybody, to this first game of this stream, but the second game of this set, of course, with Kuman and Zoomin starting 1-0 up. My name is Judas Priestley, casting for you today, joined by the very, very special guest of ours, Hayzer. Welcome to the stream, Hayzer, and are you excited for what these two teams are about to bring us?
Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to watch the final, see how they get on. Some interesting comps come out in the first game of the set. Obviously, 1-0 advantage going in, but yeah, I'm excited to watch.
Very different styles of draft, you know. Kuman and Zoomin's draft almost looks like it was cooked up by a Michelin star chef, whereas Hakai's draft maybe a bit more scrappy and a bit more pieced together. But you know, this is of course a draft league on a bit of a lower style of level, so maybe we might see a bit of a fight coming out from Hakai, who do come in as this very slight underdogs. But you know, they still made it to this finals. They are certainly no slouches.
Yeah, I think sometimes you're better going for these comfort picks. Like, it's all well copying what SPL teams do and copy what's at the top of the meta, but sometimes you're just better on other things. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how they get on. I do like this KNZ draft, even if they've got a slightly off-meta pick in the Yanis. I think they've kind of covered that with the Hoyi, the AoE coming out the Hunter rather than the mid laner, and they've just got a great dive. So, yeah, I like the draft they put together.
Yeah, mixing it up a bit, of course. You know, bringing the Giannis in is not a pick we've seen in competitive play for quite some time, actually. Is in fact considered by many to be the worst god in the game at the moment. Apparently, one of those people is not Kyron here, who will be piloting this Giannis, but we'll have to see if they can make it work. But I'm not sure, with these two compositions, Hayes, are you expecting either side to get particularly aggressive early on?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you're looking at Hakai with the Neja maybe to start to put some pressure on. This Camazotz in solo as well kind of has to do things in lane. Otherwise, he's not really bringing that much to the table compared to the Guan Yu, but I'm pretty sure that's a losing matchup for the Kama. At the moment, it seems that all the action's in the duo lane. Cheeto looking to put the pressure onto the Khepri, but that health shield coming out of the passive, keeping his team healthy.
You know, Omega steps up, gets aggressive, but is a level down onto Lena, so certainly doesn't want to be, getting too far ahead of themselves just there. But like you say, all action in the dual lane, that's just something that Maui provides for you. And something a combo I'd never noticed before is actually the Master Fisherman combined with the Alluring Spirits from the Danzaburo. That's potentially extremely lethal, and have to keep an eye on that to see if they get a sneaky pick early on.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of scary combos on this side of Hakai, right? They've got the Neja ult, the classic Neja Scylla combo, and they've got other good setup for the Scylla. And if they can dive in deep and maybe have this Kama create some space in team fights, they can probably just run KNZ down. Kai is going to have to play pretty well on this Yanis, I think, with what he's up against.
Yeah, it has to be very careful, but of course having the purification beads ready and also a CC immune ultimate is always a great combination to have. It's not something that every mid laner has, so it's definitely worthwhile when you consider the CC chain potential coming out from Hakai. But a relatively slow start, no real spills. There's been some skirmishes back and forth, but already you've seen both dual lanes pretty healed up and ready to go. But it's all about that all-important level 5, right? When we see this Naja and the Ravana both hit their ultimates, that's maybe when we can expect to see some fireworks.
Yeah, absolutely. The dive's going to start to come in. Looks like Omega's actually thinking about going over to the Joe side of the map, but sees the oracles are down and thinks better of it. Level 5 should be coming through pretty soon, especially mid laners are starting to ding 5 here, but probably not going to see too much action immediately out of the Yanis and the Scylla.
Yeah, both mid laners farming it up, keeping it slow. Both dual lanes getting aggressive, despite not really having all that much kill potential. Neither Danzabur or Huyi particularly strong at this early stage. And in fact, these Harpies on the left-hand side still standing. There's been no attention paid to them because both teams just wanted to get in the faces of their opponents early on at this stage, which is fine to do, especially for Hakai. They might feel like we said, coming in as the slight underdogs, you sort of want to face up early on and, let the other team know that you're not going to go down easily. And, this dual lane, with the slight early lead, with hitting level 5 first, it's a start for Hakai, but hold on, Omega finds a good angle onto Azza, who thinks they got spared right where they want them, but that might not be the case. And it does have to be a bat out of hell expended. They thought they had it there, but not quite yet.
Yeah, I just missed that Camazots too. Otherwise, I think that's actually a kill for Azza. It was a good bait by Sped, but baited a little bit too far there. Lucky that Azza didn't connect with the 2, and so he won't go down to the swoops. First blood will have to wait.
Still waiting on that ever-elusive first blood, but that doesn't seem to matter so much. This is, of course, EU. Well, we don't tend to care about getting things done quickly. We're more than happy to take our times. And I think both team compositions do lend themselves to getting to late game as well. Neither side is maybe particularly late game focused, but if this game hits that 30-35 minute mark, I would say both teams are probably quite happy with how their drafts are going to shape up at that time.
Yeah, both really balanced team comps, I would say, which is kind of surprising because I think when you come into games like this, it can help a lot, especially in the first game, to go maybe super aggro and just try and pressure some teams out. Got a quick pause coming through here, but I think you can sometimes go super aggro on these games and catch the other team out. But both teams here really, really balanced comps, I would say, strong throughout the game.
Yeah, with just having general game plans, of course, it's reasonable to do, especially, like you said, this is a best-of-5 set. It is the first game. As much as Kuman and Zumin do start with a lead, they, still have to win a couple of games. They have to win at least 2 if they want to be able to take this one down. So picking something safe, reasonable, not going too crazy on the team composition, not going for something hyper late game focus. No chronos coming out just yet, but I imagine, especially if Kuman and Zumin were to win this first game and put themselves on match point, that might be when we start to see some of the spiciness come out.
Yeah, then you really can't hold anything back at that point. You've got to go all out. Definitely that winner's bracket advantage should be significant here for Kuman and Zumin. We'll see if they can make it count and make this a quick one. Looking to make it a quick one here. Maybe Cheeto goes for the Mail of Renewal over the Thebes. Thebes buffed recently, super, super strong right now. So I guess Cheeto wants to fight and kind of wants to fight now, right? He wants to use that pressure from the Maui to maybe look for some early fights around mid.
It's an interesting pickup, actually. It's almost like counter pressure, right? Like we know that Maui wants to dive in, get aggressive at all times. So, actually being able to counteract that with a Khepri could be, well, not only very effective, but very important for this draft for Kuman and Zuma. They need to make sure that this Khepri is properly positioned for these fights that they will surely want to be taking, but, also keeping an eye out for the aggression coming out from the Naja in the jungle. Of course, has the Blink Relic ready, will be ready to pounce on anyone overstepped, or maybe in just a slightly worse off position. But now as we hit the 6-minute mark, I think these teams are going to start readying their combos and getting ready to strike.
Yeah, we should start to see some neutral farm fights. Probably not gold for a little while, but maybe some purple invades, blue invades should be looked at here if teams can find the map pressure. And yeah, I love what you're saying about the Khepri. I think he is just really, really good into everything that Hakai do here. There's so much single target. Neja, even Scylla, she has some AoE abilities, but the one and the ult, mostly single target. She excels at blowing up one person at a time. And Khepri, that's exactly what he prevents.
Yeah, well, hopefully do that job correctly, but you still have to do it. It's not just a case of picking the pick, you also have to play it correctly as well. Now Omega getting caught a little bit by a bit of CC combo. Look at the damage coming out already. That's the Mystic Rush counted out, but there's Lina coming through. But that's exactly what we saw. 3 ultimates expended there back and forth. I think it was a 4th actually, because we did see the Scarab's Blessing come on out combined with that Windfire Wheels. That's maybe a first sign of things to come in these next few minutes.
Yeah, good beads by Omega there. I think Omega kind of panicked with the 2 in the jungle when Maui was around them too, very, very early, and ends up in a little bit of trouble. Yeon Nene was good with the ult there, and a good beads by Omega means that there's still no first blood. But this is EU. This is what we expect. We're going to 15 minutes, surely. No kills.
Yeah, we'll be sure to have a few more minutes of that. We'll take a quick peek over to this solo lane with not too much action. We did see, obviously, a potential kill coming out from Azza, but, Guan Yu into Kamazots, it's really not going to be anything from this stage. Maybe early on, you might have seen an early kill, but now I think both junglers will be looking at that lane going, nah, I don't quite fancy it. I think I'll spend my time in the mid lane, but, well, as I say that, there's a lot of aggression coming out, so, Azza, maybe with a bit of boosted sustain here, might want to take a push, because as you said earlier, Hayzer wants to get aggressive early on in lane, does Kamazots.
Yeah, I think that beads will be forced out in mid there. Yannisol doesn't quite connect. That was close, though. Nice try, Kai. But yeah, the solo lane, the chance for the kills was before, I think, Guan got this breastplate online. Once he has breastplate, he's got prots into both Neja and the Kama, and they're both just very safe over there. Kama obviously has the bat out of hell. Another 1v1 beads, again forced. How many beads are down now on KNZ? Scylla beads still down for Big Joe. Yanis beads available for Kai. But we've got a couple sets of beads down for KNZ, which should be an opportunity for Lina to maybe make something happen.
Yeah, Lina with the absolute pick of the bunch right now. Just who do you want to ult? Who have you got ready? Because certainly they can connect with it. But again, Naja, one of those gods that is mechanically quite difficult. A lot of straight line abilities that, if you do miss them, you end up looking with egg on your face a little bit, because you just kind of stand still or you dash way off into the distance. So we need to see if Lina can actually put these together. But already showing up in the duo lane. Meanwhile, Omega shows up in the solo lane. Despite the pressure being in favor of the Kamazots, looks like they will fall down for the first blood. But here's the combo we were talking about. Up to the sky goes Albi, down to the ground they go. But there's a Scarab's Blessing perfectly placed. However, looks like Hakai are stalling their damage just a touch, and it expires. There is no revive available. Cheeto picks up the kill. Could there be a second? Not quite, with the landfall. And there are the first 2 kills coming through thick and fast.
What a sick TP. Did you see that? The Maui 2 teleporting the Danzaburo into the thick of the fight, and they're able to pick up that kill because of that. That was a really nice play. I don't think I've seen anybody do something that clean with Maui so far. Chizo looks really, really good on this pick. Gets the kill for himself. You maybe would have rather that went on to someone else, but with the way he's playing this Maui, I'm excited to see more.
And of all the Guardians to pick up an early kill on, Maui's probably one of the better ones, because wants to get aggressive, does get a few extra seconds of CC, of course, with levels coming through. So it's definitely worthwhile. Maybe better off on Maui than some other gods, as much as you'd like to get, your backliners fed. You sometimes just have to take what you can get. But of course, this is our first peek back to the solo lane after that early kill. And I did think the pressure was in favor of Cameras, especially. Look at the tower health for the Hakai solo lane. That's going to be going down really, really soon. And that might be what is causing this actually quite massive 1,000 gold lead already for Kuman and Zoomin.
Yeah, that first blood picked up, and then I think there was probably a full wave that went into the tower and just smacked it down. It was a good gank by Omega going over there, and that was beads picked up by Azza rather than a teleport as well. So you lose so much more farm if you die when you have beads rather than TP, and you lose more farm anyway because you're just slower getting back to the lane when you want to back for items. So I do like the gank there, and Omega and Sped have pulled it off, and that's really opened up this solo side of the map for KNZ.
Another portal onto Big Joe. Can't find any more CC, but that's a lot of damage onto an already relatively easy to kill Scylla. I'll be getting fought out as well. Action all over the map right now. Lina goes back in. Maybe should have decided against that. As I get caught by through space and time. Exactly how you want to start off a best of 5 for Chiron. A bad decision turns into a worse decision for Lina as they fall down for another kill for Kumin and Zoomin.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a frustration, Sash, there. You know, you're getting chased around in your jungle. You've not had a chance to do too much this game. You've had your one gank and didn't pick up the kill. And Lina just getting bullied and turns around and sashes for no reason. And, punished summarily for it. Great ult by Chiron, to be fair. But, just a bit of a misplay by Lina.
Well, you got time to get that mistake out of your head. You're still relatively early in the game in a multi-set series. You know, you have games to lose if you really have to, but don't want to be having too many more of those, you know, because it starts to bleed off into the rest of your team as well. But a Pyromancer being taken down by Omega, it's going to take a lot of damage, but actually with no real difficulty, picks up the first major objective off the map, and Kumin and Zoomin take a very handy lead.
Yeah, they're zooming into this game, really getting ahead. And with the comp they've got, I feel like they can accelerate really hard. This Guan only going to get stronger as the game goes on. Huge lead and pretty much unkillable for the next 5 minutes or so. Really, really difficult to take down. Has gone for double fizz prot, so maybe Big Joe has to be the key here. They have to try and set Big Joe up to put damage onto the Guan if he gets caught out of position. But yeah, I'm really, really worried for Hakai at the moment with the way this game has started and the way that this Guan is going to sort of rotate into these Gold Fury fights as they start to happen. They're going to be really difficult to manage.
I think fortunately for Hakai, though, all of the pressure in the dual lane has been with Mike on the Denzaburo, so that does mean that Albi might struggle to rotate to this Gold Fury early on. You know, is still struggling. Look at the damage just coming out. That's pure abilities right now. The boxing match begins, but Lina's on the way too. Albi will retreat, but can they turn this into anything? It doesn't look like it. They can't quite yet make a play at the Gold Fury.
Yeah, Mike there just didn't quite have... He had so much gold in hand. Look at that. He goes back to base, finishes off his Shadow Steel Shuriken, and picks up a balance plate as well. So he had over 2,000 gold in the bank on that back. So still dominating the lane despite the fact he was holding that much. Now is a big power spike for him. Maybe want to wait for that Xe to come through, and then he's going to be in a really strong spot for any Gold Fury fight that starts out.
What a good time to be an ADC, of course. You can build into crit, have tons of attack speed, and still show up when needed. You know, the blue buff invade going the way of Hakai. Actually, they managed to steal it away, despite Lina coming down to a 2-level deficit in the jungle, which is somewhat to be expected with a Naja into a Raven, but certainly not a comfortable position to be in. But do we maybe need to see a bit more from this Naja in the jungle? Do they need to be really getting Big Joe ahead at every opportunity?
Yeah, it's difficult now. You know, initially you want to put pressure out. You probably want to look for this Yanis sometime in the early game, but with the way the early game went, Lina ending up falling in their own jungle to that Yanis snipe. I mean, that's just put him in a real tough spot here, and trying to get out of there is Lina again, chased down by the Guan Yu, but will be A-okay as we see a fight break out on the duo side of the map instead.
Yeah, it looked like a purple buff invade attempt coming up from Omega there. Doesn't look like they confirmed it, but, you know, it's the correct place to start throwing the weight around of this Raven. Speaking of throwing the weight around, Sped makes a huge rotation all the way to the red buff, still continuing to bully Lina, but that's a Windfire wheels onto a Guan Yu. Does not do a lot of damage, but can the follow-up damage be? That's through space and time comes through. Sped's low health, but has to retreat now with that cavalry charge. Gets hooked by the landfall, but it misses the I'm a monster from Big Joe. But the soups come through, finds one, finds two. Can Azza find the third? No, they can't. A shell and a heal coming out. Turn all the aggression onto this Camazotz, who doesn't have anywhere to go, but has just enough health to work with. And now stepping a touch too far forward is Yeet. Very low. Too low. Does fall down to Mike on the Denza. So what was a lot of aggression from Kumin turns into 2 kills for Hakai and potentially a Gold Fury.
Yeah, Sped actually caught a little bit out of position there, just a bit too deep, and that meant that his team had to really rush in to try and help him. Yanis ult was used, Kepri ult was used to make sure he could get out alive, and then Omega left on an island ends up going down. Again, a little bit of helper syndrome there. Maybe just want to let Omega fall and try and defend this Gold Fury afterwards. But a really nice turnaround by Hakai. Again, a great ult by Cheeto in that fight. And Lina, I love that Lina is still playing. You know, you fall behind in the early game, it can be easy to kind of shut down, go into farm mode, but Lina sets up that fight with the Nejal onto Sped, and the team follow up really well, and now Hakai straight back into this game, only down 1,000 gold.
Yeah, of course, that's the risk you take when you're Kumin. They did take an early objective and had a decent lead, but, you know, you can throw it away quite quickly. And another immediate Windfire Wheels onto Sped, trying to lock down this Guan Yu. Looks like there is the cavalry charge coming out. They're going to retreat, but the chase is massive coming out from the rest of Hakai. I'm not sure they can close the distance, though, and Omega will make sure. But that looks like it's the game plan right now. They've suddenly switched targets to Sped on this Guan Yu. Didn't quite work that time, but I think Sped might have to think twice before getting that aggressive again.
Yeah, I think they've had a look at his build here on the Guan, and they have gone for the breastplate into the gladiators, so no magical protection in those first two items. Looking to be building a Fablest hoops now, which will provide a decent amount of mag prop. Until that time, they're trying to rotate Big Joe and the Scylla over. They're trying to make sure that the Scylla damage can kind of cut through this Guan and take the Guan down before the Guan can heal up the rest of the team. You know, focus out the healer and stop the sustain coming through.
It's just like Azza on the Camazotz. It's actually now equal in levels. So whatever pressure they have put onto Sped has paid off, at least in getting your own solo laner back to parity. But now as we start to level out across the map, it seems the only real differentials comes out actually just in the carry role. Everyone else completely even, apart from slight differences in terms of minion waves. But you know, it's all of a sudden tied up tightly, and that is why you see aggression onto Mike from Omega, but the sentry will perfectly placed, nothing doing. Father Raven has to back on away, and all of a sudden, KNZ's momentum has just faded away.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked the way that Hakai have turned this one around. They've focused on the solo side of the map. Now, I feel like they should kind of switch gears and start to lean on Mike. Mike's been doing a great job on this duo side. They kind of passed each other like ships in the night there. Raven ganking Joe, but nobody's there anymore. Hakai pick up the Pyromancer, and Lina able to ult out afterwards. But yeah, as I was saying, I think they should try and start to play on Mike here, and Mike actually rotating in behind and looking for a gank in this fight.
Well, they're looking to turn this objective into a fight, but looks at what a catch from Yidon, and their catch is out. Mike there, despite being a leaf, spots them out perfectly there, and the aggression gets ended just like that. But there's real heads-up play from the Capri, showing they are ready and able to initiate at all times. But you know, another big objective goes the way of Hakai. Might lose a tier 1 tower on the left-hand side of the map for that big rotation from Mike. But you know, it's all very tight, very, you know, close on the fights here. But on just pure farm, looks like Hakai have leveled it up perfectly here.
Yeah, definitely growing back into this game. I like that rotation out of Mike as well. I just wish that there could have been a fight set up there. I think he was spotted coming through the jungle, and the call came through to just hard back off. But Mike really starting to try and flex his muscles in this game. Has the Shadowsteel XE going into a Kins build as well. You do see this quite a lot, where people build a single crit item on Hunters at the moment. Shadowsteel just so well statted that you can get away with building it, and then you don't have to follow up with crit. You know, you can just have it for the stats and maybe get a couple lucky crits, but mostly rely on that classic attack speed with Kins build.
Yeah, of course, level 18 on the Denzaburo, ready to start getting aggressive. And, you know, this tier 1 tower, about half HP, and looks like that is the focus. Cheeto should have backed him up. Nice long-range hook, but Omega on the backside, coming to dive onto this Denzaburo. There's the beads, there's the overhead kick. Mike tries to get out, but the uproarious rocket blocked off just in time. Nice stun with the ricochet coming through, and Omega will take off the priority target. That's a nice landfall from Cheeto, but it's all a touch too late. However, the cavalry comes back in. The blink from Lena comes in. There is the Windfire Wheels to the sky, but there's a Scarab's Blessing on landing to revive this Raven. Now I'll be wanting to fight because Kyran is here too. Imo Master doesn't quite connect. Portal does. They get aggressive even further. That's a Sunbreaker coming down for extra damage. As Albi takes a big chunk from the crush. And now we see Sped on the long rotation over. Finds the Big Joe. Caught in a bit of a tough spot. Doesn't quite have the Sentinel yet. Now they will. Tier 1 tower is sacrificed. That's the first real 5-on-5 engagement. It was quite extended, and it looks like Hakai want to take it even further.
Yeah, I mean, I think we will see teams back off here, a bit of a disengage come through before this Gold Fury spawns. Mike will not be there in time to contest this, so I don't know if this is one you want to actually walk in for. Looks like from the positioning, Azza and Co want to defend, and no pickup. This will just be a bit of a wash, but another great fight there by KNZ. They followed up on that tier 1 aggression. They just punished the tier 1 aggression too far up where Mike and Co. Mike ends up falling down, and there was a great Kepriel in there from Yi. He stuck it on the Raven as Raven went up into the sky with the weird Windfire wheels, and so they weren't able to blow him up on landing with the Scylla ult and Scylla 2. So just heads up play by the Kepri, countering this comp as we thought he would.
Very well played from both teams as well. I think the escape coming out from Mike was as good as it could have been. But no, just you have to counter good play with good play, and that's exactly what Kuman and Zoomin did. They put that one together. Maybe could have gone for some early aggression on the Primal Fury when they had the chance. But maybe if you're not quite sure exactly where Mike is, weren't paying attention to the respawn time, I can understand wanting to back off. But Mike on this Danza gets a bit of a bloody nose. They sort of had the freedom of the map on this left-hand side, but now realizes that they don't quite have as much freedom as they thought and can easily be punished for it. But now things slow down a bit, simmer down for just a moment. And this is where we start talking about objectives, right? And in particular, objective secure. And as much as Zyma Monster is probably the biggest burst on the map, is it kind of counted out by the distance potential coming out from the through space and time?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you do always prefer having a Scylla for secure over a Yanis, but the Yanis much more, he's pretty efficient at stealing and getting your team in. I think what KNZ are going to want to do is fight rather than burst, right? So they want to pull an objective, bait the Hakai team in, and then take the fight from there. Dive in with the Guan, dive in with the Raven, and try and take people down. Maybe take a 1-for-0 by using a Kepriel to revive one of their team, something like that. I think if you're talking strictly burst, you're always going to favor Hakai in this situation.
We'll have to see if it comes to that 50-50 style, but Sped with the teleport in clearly means that aggression is now on the cards for Kuman and Zoomin, and exactly like you said, Hayzer, like clockwork, Primal Fury pulled, potentially just to bait Hakai in for the fight, but it is 5-on-5. Sitting in the backside is Kyron, ready with this through space and time for when the action really kicks off. Liner blinks forward onto Albi, gets the beads at the Huyi, who disengages just for the moment. There's the through space and time, connects with Big Joe, has to retreat on the backside, but Azza takes the fight to Albi, swinging through with this bat out of hell, but Big Joe finally falls to Omega, who is running onto the backline now. Liner on the retreat, trying to fight back, because here's Mike throwing their weight around, swinging as hard as they can, but Omega gets another angle onto Liner, diving in. The ring toss is pretty good, does hit many members. Mike's still full health in this fight, but now Sped finds the big target they've been looking for, catches this Guan Yu, who does get a Scarab's Blessing. Arby dives all the way in with the dive bomb, but is it a touch too far? And yes, it is, as Mike picks up this kill. Kyron now portals aggressively, catches Cheeto in the portal. Mike fighting back, Cheeto falls down, Mike falls down, Sped now taunted in. Will this Guan Yu go down? It doesn't look like they will, because Liner takes so much damage. Now it's just Azza left alive to try and clean up. This Camazotz has the damage, but can they connect with it? They're getting CC chained so hard, and it will not be enough. A big deicide at the 23-minute mark for Kuman and Zoomin.
Wow. Sped just will not die. They're doing it all on this Guan Yu. In there, healing, dancing around, doing an unbelievable amount of damage. Second top net worth in the game now, and probably going to hit the top once we get this Primal Fury secured. Really doing so much work for the team. I'm surprised that fight went so well. I think the Yanis ult came through, and the dive onto Big Joe was the thing. They managed to take Big Joe down without any Scylla damage really coming out to speak of. I think too early into the ult, trying like too eager to help out your team there. You just need to play a bit safer, play further back, and look to deal your damage where you can. Joe steps up too far and ends up going down to begin that fight, and then it just didn't feel like they could burst through the Guan healing throughout the fight.
Yeah, in a fight like that, in that enclosed space in the jungle as well, Scylla would be the star of the show, right? That's exactly where you want a Scylla to be. But, good target prioritization coming out from Kuman. Omega dives immediately onto the Scylla. I think it was actually 1 versus 4, because it was just Azza on the other side attacking Albi there on the backside. So, they had a big disadvantage, but they're able to get the all-important pick and then able to back up the rest of their team. But Hakai sneak away our Primal Fury, our Pyromancer there, and maybe a little bit sloppy there from Kuman, not quite paying attention.
Yeah, maybe should have taken that one off the map themselves. I guess they only had 3 alive for the Gold Fury. It took them a while to take it down, and then they maybe lost a little bit of focus, too excited about the lead that they're gaining here and what's next on the menu. Pyromancer, not a bad trade. Again, this game, still Hakai well in this game. Only 2,500 gold, there or thereabouts, and yeah, they've got to keep growing. This Scylla needs to grow into this game and is getting there. The build now has the Shard, has the Poly, has Book of Thoth, and still has a support for now. Oh, what an
big damage coming through. Cheeto just about alive. One more shot from the Sunbreak, and no one leaps over through space and time. So the peel has been good for the Maui until Omega shows up, and that will be the end of Cheeto line of there. But there's a rocket coming in. Rocket directly onto Omega. Then a Big Joe on the retreat, but you can't run away from Spared on the Guan Yu. Just too fast. Slices down the Scylla. The fight has been okay from Hakai at the start, but now it's just starting to bleed, and there's Mike falling down. Lina has to blink away out of the fight. It's 3-0, and Fire Giant in the sights of Kuman and Zoomin.
Oh man, what a great job they did getting Cheeto out initially. But maybe that's one of those situations where you've helped too much. You know, you need to just let your support die sometimes. Lina's gone in, Joe's trying to help, Mike's ulting into the enemy Guan Yu, and they're just trying to help Cheeto here on the Maui, and they've ended up kind of baiting themselves into a bad fight. They go 0 for 3 in that one, lose the fire, and now they're in a really tough situation. Base defense coming up next for Hakai.
Yeah, base defense for Hakai, base sieging for Kuman and Zoomin. Now, obviously, the normal plan would be to sweep down these towers, increase this gold and experience lead as high as you possibly can make it. But I don't know, what do you think of the Phoenix defense for Hakai? You know, it's still obviously decent. You know, Maui, okay, but I don't know, do they have all the pieces that they need to stand up to a prolonged siege?
Yeah, I actually think that their base defense is pretty good. We'll see how they do it, but Neja Ring pretty effective on the wave, can bounce that off the back archers and maybe hit the enemies, do a bit of poke, shred some pros. The Scylla too, quite safe for clearing out the minions as well, can drop that from far back and let the minions walk into it. And Maui ult, I think, is a really, really underrated tool on Phoenix defenses. Really good at pulling the enemy frontline in, and you can try and burst them down. But obviously on the other side, you've got this Khepri that's going to counter that, right? So when you pull one frontliner in, you want to burst them down. It just doesn't work versus Khepri, which is the problem the Hakai are going to have here. In extended fights, there's the FG sustain, there's the Guan sustain. The Yanis is putting constant damage out. The Raven is sustaining up a little bit himself and immuning a lot. So it's really, really difficult to hold the Phoenixes here just in the face of the sustain and the lack of pick potential just due to this Khepri.
Well, KNZ take it slow. They back to base, spend up their gold, and now look to reset, take off these last couple of towers, and probably turn that one into a Phoenix siege. This is, of course, the first game we are streaming today, but it is the second game of the set officially, because Kuman and Zoomin do have that 1-0 lead coming into this, and they must be on absolute cloud 9 right now. This is going to be so relaxing to play. You just chill out, clear your waves, and as I say that, it looks like on the left-hand side jungle, Sped has maybe bitten off more than they can chew, gets aggressive and in the face. They're not chilling out. They're not relaxing this push. They want to get this game moving, get into the next one as fast as possible. But now Omega on the right-hand side faces up against 2, but I'm pretty sure Kuman and Zoom will be quite happy, especially seeing that uproarious rocket drive right into a wall.
Is someone check on Mike? Someone make sure Mike's okay. He was dominating this lane so hard in the early game. Now dominates the solo lane in the wrong way. That's a wall you're dominating there, Mike. You don't want to do that. Wasted. They looked for some aggression, which I kind of like. They look at the 2v1, but I think they quickly realized, no, that's a Raven. He's, got everything up. He's got his blink. He's got his beads. He's got his ult. This isn't going to work out. And they turn around and take it out on the wall. We've all punched the wall in our time, I suppose.
Well, Kuman now, like I said, taking it slow, and we'll wait, of course, at least I think, for Omega to push up that right-hand side, because they have a lot of time to work with, although a big swing like that, if you can hit another 2 or 3 of those, Big Joe, you will be sitting pretty under this tower. Now they back up just a touch. It's 5-on-4, and they're fully aware of it. Big! Oh, the handful coming in. Now Albi now, nowhere to go, does manage to dive bomb away, but coming in is Sped, getting aggressive, and immediately deleted is Mike there. Albi gets aggressed on, but there is the Scar's Blessing expended. Now comes the bat out of hell, but it's just not quite connecting with enough damage. Lineup blown up by one shot from this Hu Yi. Another few shots onto Azza will take them down, and now it is 4 versus just the 2. They take the 4-on-5. They win the 4-on-5. Now they're just looking to take down this Phoenix because it doesn't look like Hakai have much left to give for this Phoenix defense.
Yeah, great fight again there by KNZ, and they go on to Cheeto. Cheeto gonna need to stay alive here if you want to hold the base. Big Joe can do it on his own and will just about survive the attack from Omega. I'm not sure about that one, Omega, but it's not the worst ult we've seen this game, at least.
Omega feeling something and will zone all members of Hakai into their own fountain. The Titan is bleeding, is already down to half. It is now the time. It's now or never for Big Joe and Cheeto. Big Joe burns the beads. There's just not the damage coming out, and Kumin and Zoomin take their time, burn the Titan patiently, and they go through this game with a 2-0 lead in this set. Fantastic play from Kumin. They took the game, it took a lead, and they just ran with it.
Yeah, match point now for Kumin and Zoomin. What a game by them. Great game 1, or game 2, I suppose we should say. Hakai, they were definitely in there. They had everything they needed to take that game. Just a bit of a lack of veteran shot calling there, I think. They just were a little bit too excited at times, and hopefully they can clean that up for the next game.
Well, we'll have to see if they can clean it up. Of course, this is a best of 5, so like you said, match point for Kumin and Zoomin. But we're going to take a very, very quick break. And once we come back, we will have to analyze what Hakai can possibly do to turn this one around. We'll see you guys very, very soon.
She's got a gun and a bag and she's waiting.
Welcome back, Smite fans. Hopefully you've been able to have some time to recover from what was a dominant Game 2 here from Kooming and Zooming here. Supersonic Blur once again joined by East on the desk. And where do you even start on a game like that?
I think what I would look at is probably the Khepri and the Guan. You can't have both of them together, I think. It was just too strong. Hakai drafted a pick-based comp, and having Khepri able to revive whoever they try and pick, and Guan able to heal them up, it just kind of counteracts that.
Yeah, it was absolutely gross seeing it. I mean, 7-0-5 on this Guan Yu, 3-0-4 on the Giannis. These players, like, it was what, like 14-5 in the end of that, and it's just so painful watching some of these late game fights come through. But there's that one big turning point in the middle of the game where kind of just everyone on Kooming decided, nah, we're gonna just fight.
Yeah, as soon as the team fights happened, the 5v5s, it started to look in Kooming's favour, didn't it? It was pretty even up until that point.
Pretty rough run for them. So going into the picks and bans of the game number 2, you know that you've said the Guan Yu and the Khepri. Are these picks that you would rather see just completely banned out? Would you rather see Hakai now on first pick? Let's try and take some of those. What would your thought process be here?
I do pretty much exactly what Hakai have just done, which is ban the Khepri and then leave Kooming the option of whether they want to ban Guan or not. If they don't, I would first pick it, but it looks like they picked Ishtar instead.
That was the ban that Hakai did have in the last game. They still want this Kronos and Cthulhu gone, but looks like Ishtar is their top pick. I assume then, given your praise for this Guan Yu, and yes, rightly so for Sped here, you just go back to the Guan Yu here, but they also have a second pick, and taking away the Mari. This looked really good for Cheeto, but never mind all that. Break down this Ao Kwong. What?
The character's seen a lot of buffs recently, is pretty strong. A lot of people saying that cooldown on the 3, I think was it buffed to like 6 seconds, and then with passive it's 5 or something like that. It is strong, but I just think in a competitive setting, it's very easy to play around, especially with gods like Guan that can heal people up on the other side.
This could be, though, in a situation, Kooming and Zoomin. We saw game 1, how, I believe it was Hayzer mentioned, you can't necessarily just pick what's good for like SPL. Sometimes you got to go to comfort. But you could also get really aggressive in some of these games just to try and trip people up. This is it. If Hakai lose this game, there is no, oh, well, we'll go next game. This is it. Kooming and Zoomin just 3-0 sweep here in that situation. So maybe this Guan kind of plays into that. But now looking with the Ganesh and Guan, it's very defensively strong here for Hakai.
Yeah, it's much more defensive than the Kooming and Zoomin draft is right now. That, again, is looking at a lot of dive with Kamara, Kwang, and Maui.
Kind of disgusting looking, and now with bans going through for the second phase, the Naja taken off the table. Lina had some interesting ults. We saw a lot of it defensively. We never got to see the comp really truly work, but I guess they must have some respect to it to ban it away. Loki taken off the table too here. The Kamazots, though, is this like... We've already seen the Guan Yu taken in, so is this just a matchup that these two seem comfortable with? Guan Yu versus Kamazots?
Guan's a very, very strong god in lane. Sustain, a lot of defense, can clear the wave pretty easily. And even though Kamazots can't cancel the Guan Yu 3, he's still very good into Guan, because you can sort of sustain through Guan's damage with the jump and the 2 and things like that. Which is why I think they're picking it into the Guan. It's something that feels nice in lane. Whether it is good in a team fight or not, I would say not, but it does feel nice in lane.
It does feel nice in lane. I would have thought, like, because my process goes, what does Kamazots do that Hades doesn't? Because, like, I'm thinking Hades has got good sustain, decent lane pressure. It can cancel the 3 and makes for a decent team fight. But if Kama's what they want, Kooming and Zoomin know something we don't. Bans going through. The Giannis also taken off the table. Do not want to see any more of those snipes coming through, and rightly so. We saw just how annoying this Giannis could be and how frugal they could be with just their positioning going so far forward. Medusa picked up for Kumin and Zoomin, and now Hakai answer back. They will take the Scylla again, and this time pair it with the Sultana ult.
Yeah, it's a strong draft from Hakai, really. There's lots of areas of pressure to play around. There's plenty of late game potential. There's plenty of peel, plenty of dive, plenty of team fight. I'm really liking this Hakai draft right now.
It's yeah, like you said, it's pretty decent here. It feels a lot more synergistic in regards to what they wanted to do in comparison to last game. Still, Kumin and Zoomin, though, they've gone full aggression here. I think the Tsutsano is a nice idea to try and counteract some of that in terms of aggression for aggression, maybe try and burst down this Ao Kwong in any kind of little jungle spats.
Yeah. I don't mind the Medusa. I think it's fine. I think the idea there is to try and counteract the Ishtar pressure. Which again, I think is fine. It struggles more in later game team fights, but it depends how the lane goes, I guess.
And with that, we're going to round out the draft here. We saw a couple of options, a Ra hover, a Zeus hover, but we're going to land on Yu Huang, who, again, I've been away for a while. What happened to Yu Huang? This god was top pick, top ban, and then kind of fell out of the meta, and now is kind of just another god in the game.
Yeah, it's similar to what happens with a lot of new gods. People kind of figure out how to play against it. They also seem to get a few nerfs because they always start off pretty strong. So a combination of a few nerfs and people learning how to play against the Yu Huang just leading to a little bit of a decrease in popularity.
So, though, it's not a bad pick here. I still love the ultimate here. We've seen some absolutely disgusting things happen to Tyr with their push-pulls. See Deathwalker's 3-4-man fearless power cleave combo. Yeah, imagine if you can do that on a mage and put like 700 damage in at the same time. Feels kind of gross. Oh, and you have the safety of Mary Poppinsing when you feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a strong ultimate for sure.
Well, hopefully the rest of the team will be able to work around with that here. This is finals on the line here for Kumin and Zoomin. Hakai need to fight back with everything they got. They've got no other chance here. So Judas, Hayzer, let's see if they can do it.
We will have to see indeed. Welcome back, everyone, to the game as we see how both of these two teams will line up. And Hayzer, as we mentioned earlier, this is it. No second chances for Hakai. The chips are down. This is their last lifeline. Do you think they have what it takes to take this one over, or will Kumin and Zoomin be zooming through this finals?
Yeah, I mean, it's a brand new game. We got a lot of things swapped around here. We've got Yi Nene takes that Maui away. We've got the solo laners have swapped characters, and we've got an Ao Kwang. So definitely going to have a different game in this one. I'm totally interested to see how Cheeto plays on this Ganesh. I really like to get Cheeto on the Maui, and I'm wondering what he can do on the elephant.
Yeah, of course, a bit of a different style, right? Ganesh compared to Maui. It certainly wants to be aggressive still, but you know, you have a lot of different playmaking options to be had, and as we see in this solo lane, Sped sees that their pick has been taken away and says, you know what, I quite liked your Camazotz into my Guan Yu. Let me see if I can make it work just that little bit better. But I wonder if we'll see quite as much aggression in the duo lane this time. But hold on, as it steps forward, spots out Omega on the early rotations. Both junglers make their way over. I get the feeling Hakai aren't going to take this one sitting down.
No, and this time Lina opts to just concede that pressure on the solo side, look for something in mid, but nice safe play out of Kai there in the mid lane. As we go back to the duo lane 2v2, they're boxing. They loved it. The whole first 5 minutes of last game, they were just juking it out, hitting each other nonstop. So I hope we get to see a little bit more of that. Maybe a kill this time would be nice, though.
One way you could get a kill is by making an early jungle rotation over. Now the jungler is nearby for Hakai, as leaping in is onto Nene. Liner making the way around. Here comes Big Joe as well. 4-man rotation to the duo lane early on. Nice body box from Cheeto, but Albi manages to find the angle on out. But Liner gets the teleport in. There is the magic shell, and not enough damage from Liner. Means that Hakai don't pick up a cheap first blood, but that's some good aggression coming out from the order side.
Yeah, nice try there. You hate to see it, though. A 4-person rotation over to the duo side of the map, and you get nothing. And you know that while that's happening, this Ao Kwang, Omega, he's on a timer, and he's gobbling up that farm on the duo side of the map, taking the backs, going over to grab their own as well. Omega now just starting to get a little bit of lead, already up a little bit of XP on Lina, and you don't want to be behind it, Alquang.
You don't want Hakai to show up and ruin your day, but that's surely what Omega's going to be looking to do. As we watch how both sides try to square each other up early on. You get caught by a root there. Might spell some danger for the Ganesh, but just enough help to keep that one safe. Did not use the magic shell, so felt confident in that despite their early aggression. No early picks for either side in this dual lane, but I don't know. These comps really don't lend themselves to getting aggressive early on here. I guess, I don't know, these guys just want to fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think they know that the other comp isn't any better at the early game than they are, so they're like, all right, we'll just box, we'll see how it goes. Susano, I guess, going to be the one you're looking at to maybe make some early plays if you're looking at either jungler here. Lina going to be the one who needs to try and get back off to an early start here, but already a little bit behind off those backs invades, as we just mentioned, looking for something in mid, but Kai, very, very safe there on the Hugh Kwang, just able to 3 on out of there.
Yep, Celestial Flight to the sky and even hit level 5. So has that Dueling Dragons available to them now. As Albi and Yeet go for a purple buff invade, but not going to be taking this one, laying down on the dual lane for Hakai, and they will secure it for themselves. Cheeto there, with that turn of fate, manages to secure that buff for themselves, but still wanting to push the aggression in this dueling because Lina is back on the scene. That's a nice grapple there coming out onto Albi, but Yeet is ready for it. Purple is available if Lina wants to go for the invade, but another rotation to this dual lane nets nothing for the Hakai jungler.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a purple invade there if you make that rotation over, make the effort. Not even going to pick up oracles, I don't think. Just rotates over and then goes back to base. So a couple sad dual ganks this game so far from Lina.
Yeah, it's okay, but effective rotation is something that gets talked about quite a lot from the jungle. Whenever you make that long footfall commitment, you want to make sure it pays off. And now Omega finds a good angle. Cheeto dashes in. Albi falls low. Doesn't quite fall enough though, because there's the magic shell to keep them alive. Now there's Omega swinging down. There's those dragons coming through just into execute range. Goes Cheeto, and they will fall down. Mike gives chase to Albi, but is in a very bad spot now as Omega lands right down on top of their head. It is a matter of when, not if, for Mike here. They're not even fighting back, just accept their fate, and the last hit goes to the tower, but that's a double kill for this Kwang starting this game as they finish the last.
Yeah, meanwhile, Asa looking to try and punish Fed and will do it. Wow. No mana for the Battle of Hell there, I would guess. Just got the leap off down in basically empty mana range after that. And Asa with the punish. Nice kill on the other side of the map. They definitely needed that on the side of Hakai after that calamity in the dual lane. I don't know if I'm losing my mind, but did Cheeto just not shell at any point during that?
Cheeto did not shell. I'm not quite sure why. It might well have kept them out of execute range. Maybe they thought they were already falling into execute range no matter what, but that was close actually. I think a few more attacks of health might have been enough for Cheeto to stay alive there. So maybe a little bit of a drop play there from Ganesh, and does drop a double kill in the duo lane. So not a good start for the Hakai duo lane, but of course having a kill onto your solo lane, a solo kill at that, is good for the momentum at least. It does mean that Kube are not going to have everything their own way.
Yeah, I actually think it's a really big deal for Asa to win this lane as well. If you go and you play a lane and you kind of lose it on the other side and then you swap characters and lose it again, that's going to feel real bad. So I'm happy for Asa getting control in this one for Hakai and kind of, if this set goes on, we could be done after this. I hope we have some more games, but it lets Asa have that confidence. I'm not just worse in this lane. I can compete,
Well, funnily enough, speaking of not being worse, you're actually seeing level parity in the jungle, which is quite surprising considering the 2 kills onto Omega. But nevertheless, Omega is giving chase to Lina. I wonder if Lina's aware of this. Does have to drop the storm coming through, knocks up this Kwang. There is the beads coming through though. Keeps Susano alive, but hold on, Omega falling really low to Asa on the rotation. And that is a very, very important kill. Ties up the kills 2-2.
Yeah, brilliant rotation out of Asa, and Asa getting active in this game. This is what I felt like Mike had to do last time, and Mike now looking for the kill. There is a gank onto Albi. There goes the and just barely able to survive is Mike. There's the shell from Cheeto. Cheeto was saving it.
They're saving it for this exact moment. It is a 10,000 IQ play coming out from Cheeto, but really close there coming out from Albi. Got the lacerate, which almost would have finished off the kill, but the magic shell combined with the fact they actually got stuck themselves in the Dharmic pillars did manage to take them down. So unfortunate play there from Albi. Wanted to turn things around and almost did in the 1v2, but all of a sudden Hakai, they're not quite ahead on gold just yet, but pulling back in the kills has got to be good for the confidence.
Yeah, they're in a good spot now. They've really evened this game up. The early double kill for the Ao Kwang, definitely a worrier, and it's one that kind of it puts you on notice a little bit. But the Kwang not had as much effectiveness since then, and this Guan for Aza really doing a lot of work and a nice gank in Geoside. You know, they're kind of doing it all over the map.
Yeah, being effective across the map this time, you know, it's what they needed. It was somewhat lacking in the first game. Of course, 5 kills in 7 minutes. Still before first blood, I believe, in the previous game. So, like we said, Hakai not wanting to take it sitting down. That they did pay for early on with that early double kill against them. But, you know, they've paired it up. I think Mike has been doing a decent job 1v1 against Albi in this set, let alone just this game. We'll have to see if that was maybe just a pick differential coming through or if they can sustain it, but nothing's starting to quieten down just a touch. It's a race for the offerings coming through, but Cheeto picks that one up. Omega gives chase, can't find it, and it is all about the little victories when a game's as tight as this.
Yeah, absolutely. Sentry ward on the red buff. I like that from Big Joe. Sometimes you see a ward get placed in the jungle and you're not sure if it's worth sentrying, but I think those defensive sentries are great to get down. Yeah, teams just looking to finish off the offering pickups here. There is one sitting on the Duo side of the map, it looks like, for Kuman and Zoomin, but they're not going to pick that up. Looking for some aggression onto Cheeto instead. There goes the Medusa ult. Cheeto will drop the Dharmic Pillars and the Silence to try and get out. A nice play, but no! Ooh. Will not survive. Mike not able to stop the owl there, and the kill will go down. Meanwhile, Solo side, they look for a pick onto Sped, but he's just going to swoop on out.
Yeah, we'll have to take the consolation prize of a blue buff, which is still relevant enough. But yeah, I actually thought that I was looking at Cheeto's health and I'm thinking, there's no way they get this kill. Look how much health he's got left. Then the execute comes through. And that's exactly what you pick Ao Kwang for. He gets the kills that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. And yeah, it was good play from both sides. You know, I think that Cheeto did absolutely everything they could. Did save the shell, has to be pointed out. Might have made all the difference there, but still has that magic shell available. But it is just a pick onto the support, right? It's not the worst thing in the world. And, you know, as long as they don't fall down again and really get out of hand, I think this Ganesh is still tanky enough to do their job at this point.
Yeah, going straight into the magical protection as well, recognizing the problem, which is this Ao Kwang bursting the Ganesh down. So going into the magical protection item straight away. And also it looks like upgrading that shell to the level 2 already, or whenever we're going to see an early upgrade into the sort of auto attack protection shell to stop the owl just running him down and AAing him.
Yeah, of course, very, very relevant. You know, it is multiple auto attacks needed to take down a target as Ao Kwang. You do build up that attack speed, and you know that will be affected by every single attack, and as long as you get that magic shell up fully upgraded sometime soon. So it's a good pickup. It's a good adjustment, especially to a god like Ao Kwang, who, despite recent buffs, we certainly don't see them too often. So maybe not quite used to playing a god like playing against a god like this. So you know, heads up play from Cheeto, and you know, despite falling down twice, it's still been, you know, very important to their team.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't play against AO as a WoW and then you play against them as a tank, and it's very, very difficult. You need to change your positioning so much because you're so used to getting out on 20-30% HP and feeling good about it and having baited abilities and baited skills, but you just have to sort of adjust that mental picture of how much damage you're able to take and play a little bit safer.
Yeah, similarly, will be just like Aza on the Guan Yu, because we're seeing right now Omega lurking around. Clearly wants to take down this Guan Yu, but maybe has to ring the alarm bells just a touch earlier. Now Aza in some trouble, gets left on. Nice juke to change the angle. We'll have to burn the cavalry charge, but that's the cooldown they were looking for, right? They were not really going to be able to kill that Guan Yu, and no Gold Fury attempt available means that that's just a good win for Kuman and Zoomin.
Yeah, it's one of those where you've got to try and punish this now, right? You've got to look for another gank on the Guan. But Guan Singh with the upgraded blue buff plus the breastplate of valor, already at max CDR, has that Guan passive as well to reduce the cooldown. So not going to have to play safe for too long. This gank's going to have to come in pretty quick from Omega if he wants to capitalize on that ult burn.
And it's definitely the right target, right? You know, it's highest net worth in the game. Sometimes it sounds obvious to target the highest net worth, but obviously they can't see that in game. They just have to know, or be checking the scoreboard constantly. They have to know that Guan Yu is the main target they want to be burning down, and that's the only way they're going to do it. Now we'll have to see if that is actually successful, but Big Joe on this Scylla has played things very safe. We haven't really talked about the mid lane this game, funnily enough. So this means both junglers not really paying a lot of attention, and maybe that's a shame for Yeet here on the Maui, because Maui really likes to get active in the mid lane early, but just hasn't got the opportunity.
Yeah, not seen much of the mid lane at all. I feel like I've only seen them clear waves. The Scylla looked for an early gank on the Duo side. Still has opened up a little bit of a lead here as Big Joe. Book of Thoth almost stacked up, but a little bit of XP ahead of Kai as they both hit level 12 and up to pick up those second relics. Looks like it will be an Aegis for Big Joe. No Blink on the mid laner this time. We did see a Blink Yanis last time, which, I don't know. I think really? I prefer Blink Yanis to Blink Scylla.
Well, I wonder if, well, obviously we're not seeing it this time, but that would certainly be a big move to make, but certainly not when you're 0-2 down in a best of 5. I feel like you'd be rightfully kicked from the team, but that doesn't matter actually, because I mean, if this is the last game, this is the end of these teams. Of course, being in a draft league, this is goodbye for both of these teams. So as much as they have maybe built up some synergy and some friendships along the way, this is it for their time in Glorious Smite League. So you want to make it count. You don't really want to do things too crazy, but Kumin and Zoomin, they want to do the craziness of taking this set down in 3-0. Omega steps up just a touch. Talos Halt will catch some. Lina gives chase. That's a Purification Gauge coming up, but sliced down. And that is a big pick in the jungle. Omega steps up and gets taken down very quickly. And Hakai looking to turn this one right into a Pyromancer. But hold on, Speds here has some damage to put out of their own. But some good defending coming out as Big Joe is just focusing down this Pyro. Cheeto happy to tank it up. But instead, Hakai, decide that the risk is too great as Albi has made the rotation over, wants to get involved. There's not really a fight to be had though, as Hakai just mass retreat on out.
Yeah, they're going to try and turn this one into a Pyromancer. A nice rotation actually by Albi. Has opted for this early Wind Demon, which is going to help them burst through this Pyromancer a little bit, down to about 20% Cheeto. Gonna look for the Dharmic Pillars. Kumin and Zoomin do secure it, though. That was close. That was a good try by Cheeto, but not quite this time. As the aggression comes back onto Cheeto, but safety is his. And there comes Joe. Damage over the top, picks up one. Damage on to Yeet as well. There is the root, and there is the follow-up. 2 kills. Surely Cheeto will fall. Oh yes, the turnaround is there from Omega. But 2 for 1, plus the free farm on the duo side. Mike has been pushing. Mike's taken a tier 1. Mike's taken a lot of farm. And so overall, this has got to be a win for Hakai.
Lina takes the fight to Sped, but Sped answers back in spades, blinks on forward, doesn't connect with the bats. Lina with the teleport away, but the sound wave comes out, takes down Lina. So it was a good fight for Hakai, or at least a decent fight for Hakai. Maybe gets a little bit worse off now, despite the big commitment coming through, but really close back and forth game, and fine margins are going to decide this one.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Big Joe getting a chance to show what they've got on this Scylla as well. I felt like last game, Big Joe was just getting run down, ulting, running away, dying in fights, and finally we get to see Big Joe connect as Kai connects onto Big Joe. Every time this Yu Huang's hitting a 2-1 combo, they are absolutely chunking.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's forgotten just how much damage Yu Huang can potentially do. And we've seen it in the past, right? When, the meta was double hunters in mid lane, who was the mage that was still being picked up? It was actually Yu Huang. Just because of the safety they can provide and the damage, but they still haven't gone away. Received a couple of nerfs, but still definitely able to be a problem. And yeah, as we're seeing Big Joe finding, of course, didn't step up for the steal attempt on the Pyromancer, still held that I'm a monster, got value from it, of course, did manage to pick up a kill with it, got the reset, and got that damage off. So it is worthwhile, but I don't know, Scylla, maybe the focus of the show again for Hakai, and maybe we just need to see them getting a little bit more involved.
Yeah, it needs to keep coming out and needs to keep following up with the damage. Joe has that Book of Thoth and that Divine Ruin online already. Probably going to look for a Poly next. I do feel like Scylla, Poly is just such a strong item right now, and I think that's one of the reasons Scylla's so strong, just because she can make good use of that item. And yeah, it does look like a Book of Souls comes through in that spot, surely going to be a Polynomicon now for the Sill, and that will give you a lot of damage on squishies. You can kind of blow up Omega if Omega tries to go on anybody near you. You can blow up Omega so quickly. And this Kamazot's ripe for pick off as well, with the Transcendence into the Gladiator Shield, really not all that tanky.
Yeah, almost a second jungler style coming out from Sped here on the Kamazots. But we've seen, specifically in Glaria, it seems, Kamazots always seems to be a star of the show. They always have a big showing. We've seen a lot of solo laners favor this god as he jumps in aggressively, then spots that there's a whole team there. You don't want to get too aggressive on them. There's the landfall, comes through, does actually wall them in. There's the Blades of Retribution. Albi is now the new target, but as it takes a lot of damage, his tanky will have to run away for a bit longer, but there will be the Talon Assault, the slice. Mike dashed in aggressively. I'm not sure that was intentional. They take a lot of damage in the process. Here's the Bat Out of Hell to try to finish off this kill because Azza zones away the rest of the damage. Mike gets away with that one. We've seen that a few times from Ishtar. They do survive to live another day and will try to take this Gold Fury, but Kuman and Zoomin not giving it up for free.
Yeah, I feel like I'm almost watching a replay with this Guan. Well, I was going to say with this Guan absolutely dominated the dual lane fights, but no, the beats are good. Omega so low in the long range autos from Mike. Takes him down. Nice shot. Mike, what a kill for him to pick up.
Yeah, I think that's what they were trying to do when they just dashed in aggressively. And that time it worked out much more effectively for them. This Gold Fury is still very difficult, of course, because Cheeto and Big Joe cannot face up to 3, despite the lead that they have. And Cheeto getting aggressive actually by Sped here. Sped doing a ton of damage. There's the Dueling Dragons, but the Magic Shell, the Phantom Shell, in fact, will keep them safe for that. That's an interesting pickup. I'm surprised they've gone for that item instead, but hold on. Sped still looking for an opportunity. Big Joe finding out their damage back. Liner finds an angle to Albi, but an angle to Mike is found by Sped, who can't finish off the kill. There's a lot of fights going on here, not a lot of kills, but Big Joe gets taken down. There's Kyron putting out that damage we've been talking about. Mike stabs back up, falls down, and now the Gold Fury goes down to Kuman and Zoomin as well. Hakai had a good fight, and it's all been blown away.
Yeah, just sticking around a little too long there, getting separated, getting picked off. And down they'll go, the two backliners stepping out. Big Joe and Mike both fall. That is a big swing for Kuman and Zoomin. They were struggling in this game, and now they're pretty significantly ahead, over 1,000 gold. And the XP's got to be looking good as well, about 1,000 XP and gold, in fact. Yeah, just about spot on. But really, that sustained fight, it was a long fight. You'd think the team with the Guan, the team with the sustain would be able to take it. But no, just about Kuman and Zoomin able to stay healthy and take that one down.
Yeah, they really didn't want to give up the Gold Fury, did Hakai. But, I mean, they got a lot of kills in that fight. They did get a lot of value. It would have been okay if they'd just given up the Gold Fury, but 2 kills plus Gold Fury just makes things so much worse for them. All the momentum they had has now gone away. And, I mean, as we saw in the last game, momentum is massively important because they still don't have a win on the board in this set. You know, they do need to win 3 games in a row if they're going to take this set down. So you really can't afford to be giving things away. You know, you don't want to struggle for your first win. You want to, show up really strongly. And they've been doing that so far. It's just this one big fight, but hopefully they can put things together just a bit more, especially coming up to these Fire Giant fights.
Yeah, it's going to be playing on their mind a little bit after last game. You try and put that game behind you and try and forget about it. But the sort of path of the game, the trajectory of the game is almost exactly the same. Things are really even. Both teams duking out, battling it out. And then they come to team fights and Kuman and Zoomin just start to take control. They grab the game by the scruff and they drag it their way. And Hakai have got to worry that that's happening again. They've got to take the momentum away from Kuman and Zoomin, make sure that they prove that they can win a 5v5 team fight, that they've got the potential there, the organization within their team to take it down.
Well, they've been trying to team fight, and it's not gone so well for them. Maybe they'll just look to pick off Yeet onto Nene, who's ready with the landfall and waiting for this Pyromancer to come through. It comes out early, and it is not in time. Hakai take the Pyromancer, but the fight after begins. Yeet now, no ultimate available. Omega starts slicing down onto Azza. Cheeto gets cut off from their team. There's a really split fight, really awkward geometry going on right now. Big double stun, though, but the Darnic Pillars will keep him safe. Liner finds a shot onto the backliners, but can't really get too aggressive just now. And in fact, this is actually a 4 versus 5 engagement. It's on the left-hand side of the map. Albi is split pushing all the way to a Phoenix. Now Omega gets in the kill, does fall for their troubles, but this fight continues on. Mike very low, has to retreat. Maybe we'll see a rotation coming in from Albi, or maybe not, because there's Sped taking down Mike. There's one swipe, tries to find the second, can't quite connect. Magic Shell used this time, but the Phoenix on left is under some major pressure. Liner wants to go, can't take the fight. The minions waves come in. This will be a very, very early Phoenix if Albi can get it, but now they might have just overstayed a touch too long. Liner gets a lot of damage already, but now that is the grapple coming up from Cheeto. Are the reinforcements coming? Albi uses the beads. Big double root. Big damage coming out. Sped comes in as well. Albi has to retreat. They're too low to carry on in this fight, but the fight just continues on longer and longer for Hakai, despite having the Guan Yu not really winning this extended engagement.
Yeah, I mean, you get to take a breath here, Judas, because there is so much going on. What the heck is happening in these fights? And they're still going for... Oh, no! There's nobody there! But there's the crush. Follow-up is there. Up onto the horse will go Azza, looking for follow-up, and nothing coming. There is the Silla straight onto Nene. Yeets. Will walk away, though, drops the landfall. Surely going to fall this time. But Azza has gone too deep, solo diving, and does actually fall down. This could have been an FG pull if it weren't for him falling. It might still be, because forward goes Big Joe with the big crush, picking up a big kill onto Albi. And Hakai now 4 versus 2. FG available. They need to rally here, make the shot calls, tidy it up, and take the big objective.
Coming up big is the mid laner for Hakai, but can they turn this into the objective they need? They're taking their time, ambling over. Looks like they're going to instead look to take down the tier 1 tower on the way. They might still turn this into a fire giant, but respawn's coming through. Cheetah's going to back. They're not going to take this opportunity. Oh, I don't know. Is that a big mistake, Hayzer?
Well, just take the fire. Just take the fire. There's 4 of you. There's 2 of them. They don't have a teleport on their jungler, on their solo laner, sorry. Well, just take the fire giant, please, please. I don't understand. I don't understand.
It doesn't get taken. Looks like Hakai will want to take another fight. Despite everything and that very, very extended fight going on, they do come out on top overall. They do drop Azza for the first time as well, so that was a big amount of gold, and it did go to a backliner for Kuman and Zoomin. So not great to give that up, but they've at least shown that if Kuman and Zoomin do overstep the way they did, they can take a fight. But it was very, very back and forth, and the Oni Fury seems to be the target of Kuman. I don't know, the swings and roundabouts right now, but both sides making some interesting calls. I'm surprised that the Oni Fury is the real prioritization here.
Yeah, I mean, that was going all the way back to the start of that fight. That was a crazy fight. Kuman and Zoomin were winning that 4v5, hard winning it. And they just needed to rotate their ADC over. But now we see the Gold Fury focus on that. Kuman and Zoomin secure it with the Medusa ult, I think. And the disengage gonna have to come out. Forward goes the landfall, pulling them in. But good damage out of Big Joe. Big Joe finding space in these fights finally. But now Kwang for Omega finds another execute. And the fight goes on.
Mike there, ulted by absolutely everyone in existence. I'm pretty sure there's some ults from characters not even in this game right now. That's a really tough feeling for the Ishtar there. Takes too much damage and gets out. But that's a lot expended from Kuman and Zoomin, so they can't quite yet go for the Fire Giant. But with a Trebuchet pushing up on this left-hand side and Oni minions coming down all of the other lanes as well, might look to put some pressure on this Phoenix. This not a very standard call, but this might just work out for them.
I don't mind that, actually. With the Oni minions pushing and with the Trebuchet coming, you do have decent damage. Scylla needs to make sure and clear out these minions. Forward will go Lina. No ult available after using that just a couple seconds ago. Forward goes Azza. Gets double relics out of the Medusa without really doing a whole lot, and they'll back on out. And this Phoenix now should be safe if they're able to use that Scylla damage, but no, they're going to step forward again, or Kuman and Zoomin. Good silence out of Cheetah will prevent any follow-up. Here comes the Dueling Dragons, doesn't really connect. A good ult out of the Ganesha. Dharmic Pillars will separate the fight, but the Phoenix, it just gets lower and lower and lower, and these Trebuchet shots are still coming through, and the Geoside Phoenix falls.
Phoenix is down, but can they take the fight afterwards? They needed to get the Treb, and they could not do it. And the full retreat from Kuman and Zoomin. They do drop their support, but support for Phoenix at the 25th minute, that's exactly what you want to be hoping for. And now Hakai in a really, really tough situation because they have to take this fight. They have to defend their left lane, and they really don't have many options of dealing with it. Of course, they do have Azza with the teleport, but you want the Guan Yu in the fight at the Fire Giant. It's going to be a really rough next couple of minutes for Hakai.
Yeah, really important for them to stay in this now. The duo side Phoenix, they're so tough to defend fire once you've lost it. Those fire minions just going to eventually force you into a difficult decision. Do you send your solo laner back and hope that you can TP over in time? The Guan been having so much impact in these fights. They're not going to this is not the time, okay? They had their chance. They're pacifists when it comes to fire. They don't hit it. But they will take the Pyromancer, which is useful as well. If someone ends up going back to defend those left minions, might be able to get over to the fire just that little bit faster.
I mean, obviously they didn't know it, but they had actually a window there where all of Kuman and Zumin were back in base, and all 5 of Hakai were at the Fire Giant, and I don't know, maybe that's just the casual in me saying to try to make that big play, but the simple plays are not working right now. Mike dashes in aggressively, and that's Q for Omega to get in, and really trying to focus down this Ishtar. There is the landfall, comes through, does pull the front line, but a big crush comes out from Big Joe. That's damage coming through, but can this Scylla get back to safety? They can, just for the time being. Now Azza has to retreat, they've got the pick they needed, they're firing back some big damage, but they're swinging in is Yeet onto Nene, and there is Sped blinking in aggressively, but still the health bars remain just about for Hakai in this full-on 5 versus 5. There are some minions onto the Titan, but that's a lot of damage expended, but Kumin turn their attention to the Fire Giant.
Man, a great fight by Hakai. They just barely, every single one of them just barely alive throughout the fight, but they end up losing the chance of this fire. Azza comes in round the back looking for more. He on the Nene is the target. The fire pool spawn. And they're going to dominate. The knock-up is huge. Here goes Azza into the backside. Maybe just needs to make sure he stays alive. Here, stun onto the fire. Fire
goes massive. Azza. It's massive, it's still alive, and now it's low health right as Hakai show up, but couldn't take it back! They take it right back somehow, despite going everything badly for them. Hakai don't finish off the big objective. It's only fire on 3, but it could have been so much more for Hakai.
Yeah, it's the same again. Hakai do everything right, but it's just that little last shot call, that little last bit of veteran presence that they seem to lack. They just need to take that fire a little bit slower. There are 3 versus 2 people who are on about, 200 HP between them. They don't need to rush that down. They can take their time. They can zone properly, but a bit of panic sets in. They overcommit on the fire, get stolen away. But a good fight overall. Great stuff one more time from Azza. Azza is having some game on the Guan. This Guan Yu has to become a really, really highly contested pick if we see any more out of these 2 teams.
I would love to see some more. It's just going to be a bit more difficult for Hakai. Now, of course, it is, like we said, only Fire Giant on 3. With it being the 3 gods in particular, the Kama, the Yao Kuang, and the Yu Huang, it's good. Not great. You would really love Albi on the Medusa to have this, but it still means that there might be an opportunity for Hakai. The left side Phoenix is coming up. Still 2 fire minion waves on the way, and just another plain old Gold Fury that would be really nice for Hakai to have, of course, with that defensive buff that it does give you. But it looks like the call is to go for this left side Phoenix. But can they do it again, Hayzer? Can Hakai fight off the aggression, and can they take another big fight that they need just to stay in this set?
Yeah, going to be tough to hold here, but it looks like it will be a slower push here out of Kuman and Zuma. They've gone over to deal with Lina's split push. Will just about get back before Albi can spit on him. Out will go the Susano. And now I think we'll see a grouping on this left-hand side, but maybe not. Maybe they're going to look for the tier 2s, strip that gold off the map, get their lead extended in time for the next FG fight.
Of course, this is the time for Kumin to calm things down. I imagine after that last fight around the Fire Giant, adrenaline is really high amongst these players because it is a big game for these players. This is a grand finals, and a lot of these players may not have ever won a tournament like this. It can be a really, really big deal to get this over the line. So you certainly don't want to give up something cheaply like that Fire Giant would have been for Kumin. It would have been really rough for them, but they already make their way to the Phoenix in position. Hakai are not, and that's Nene getting actually root taken down from the Solar Swing, does now manage to get on up. Big Joe tries to find the shot with the Armor Monster over the wall, doesn't quite connect. Now needs to be careful because that is not a healthy Scylla, and Chiron there getting very aggressive with this Yukon. We've seen the damage that the mid lane of the Chaos side can do, and it looks like they've managed to stave off the aggression just about. Kumin take things slow again and go for this tier 2 in the mid lane instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you'd offered them the 2 tier 2s at the start of this FG siege, they probably would have taken it. They get a little bit of extra gold, and now they can set up and try and get FG on all 5 once this falls off in the next minute or so. Trying to invade some more buffs. I'll be really aggressive. Maybe lucky not to get punished for diving into the enemy green buff on your own there, Albie. But we'll get away with it, and I guess all's well that ends well.
Well, it looks like the left side Phoenix is the point of contention. Good damage onto Albie to start this fight from Big Joe. And now firing off is Mike with these long-range shots. But that's a good damage coming in back. But there, already, a lot of aggression coming through. Lina goes massive! Swipes down one! Oh, no, looks to take down Albie. The lifesteal's pretty good, but not good enough. That's a double kill for the Susano, who now takes on Spad, just like Azza, ready to back them up. On the back line for Hakai, sees Big Joe taken out by Omega, but doesn't quite fall down. Azza goes big here, too. Another big defense from Hakai. They have all their Phoenixes standing. They have Fire Giant off of the entire enemy team. And now Hakai in a very, very good position to contest this enhanced Fire Giant about to spawn.
Yeah, really great fight there. And of Lina picks up the Bloodforge, immediately puts it to work, picking up a couple kills, using that passive, the health shield, a little bit of movement speed, and just absolutely crushing that fight. A really great, was it a Frosty combo? It looked like a Frosty combo where you set up the Susano ult, blink over the wall, pull people back into your ult, and just burst them down real quick. Great stuff out of Lina, and we'll see if they can continue this in the FG fight that will ensue in about 30 seconds as it spawns. Mid-tier 2, looked at, I don't love this out of Azza and Mike. Again, team's just splitting a little bit too much.
Oh, the blink comes through, but now the damage being fired back onto Spad. Lina is here. Do they have the CC? Yes, they do. They keep Mike alive. It's a rampage for the Susano as the Pyromancer goes down. And that was risky from Hakai. They get away with it this time, and they have generally team fought that much better. But now at a 4 versus 5, the Kuman and Zoomin have what it takes to steal away this enhanced Fire Giant.
Yeah, mistakes both ways there a little bit, I think. Too aggressive on the mid-tier 2, where Hakai just going for that tower, something they didn't need to do. They were doing Pyromancer at the same time, so split calls within the team. But then Spad just goes for the hero play, goes too deep, didn't have that ult available, so wasn't able to confirm the kill, and gets turned around on it. It might be an enhanced FG that is the prize for Hakai out of that fight.
Hakai start up the objective. Big Joe, low health, just here for the secure. Doesn't really want to rush this objective. Taking some damage, though, from the Fire Giant. Gets a little bit of sustain, but there's the landfall coming in. Gets 2 big targets there. Mike gets knocked up by the Fire Giant as well. Another low health Fire Giant comes through. Hakai do finally take this big objective, but Cheeto's low health in execute range. Now back out of it, but Mike still in the thick of things, but cannot get away from it. Ends up falling early on in this fight. Now Omega trying to give chase to the other backliner. It looks like Lina hasn't been able to take part in this fight at all just yet. And now Big Joe takes a couple of big shots, but does manage to get the retreat just about. It is full disengage from Hakai, but Kuman and zoom forward to give chase. Can't close the distance. Albi almost falls for their transgressions. But they do have enhanced Fire Giant on 4. And this time, they are the ones in the driving seat.
Yeah, there was, again, it was a weird call there. I feel like by Hakai, they were like, do we DPS it? Do we stop? And the Silas just standing on the other side of the wall, waiting to ult this fire to secure it. So they really struggled in that fight just because they were using so much DPS on the fire and they were taking so much damage from it. Kuman and Zoomin only come away with 1, which I think is about as well as that could have gone for Hakai. Now EFG on all 4, they can look to all 4 members apart from Mike, I should say, and they can look to push down these tier 2s and maybe look for a Phoenix as well.
Yeah, it is a real shame it's not on Mike, actually, because Ishtar, one of the most fantastic gods for breaking a Phoenix Siege, but will still be relevant in the fight. It's just a case of can Hakai protect this all-important target. Now, all of their team fighting in the last few minutes, at least, has been counter-aggression, counter-punch, punishing oversteps. But now they have to be the ones making things happen. They still have 3 tier 2 towers to deal with. They are going to look to take the Oni Fury as well, which is probably the right call. I would say you have to take your time with this. You know, if Hakai are to win this, it needs to be 40+ minutes and possibly another Fire Giant. This won't be easy unless Kuman and Zoomin really blow things away. But I mean, look at the spread coming out. They're really not quite sure what they want to do just now. Understandably, given the circumstances, but you need to make a brave call now.
Yeah, they've let that left wave push all the way up towards their Phoenix as well. That's 2 waves that we can see on the map on the left-hand side there. So that just going to mean that they never get minions in the duo side, which is where you really want to push. Only minions now starting to spawn and will push up, but they're not going to get far. And I just feel like, again, a little bit of not definitive enough shot calling from Hakai. Not really thinking about what they're going to do here, but they are taking down the tier 2s. They get the mid tier 2, looking for right. Great Sikkim crush combo by Big Joe again. Keeps hitting those AoE roots onto multiple people.
Scylla has been massive, and that's exactly what you want at this stage of a game, but it takes a lot of damage there from Chiron, backing them up. Now Sped takes a chunk as well, gets hit by a crush, pulled in as well. Very, very risky play there coming out from this Camazots, but we've seen it a few times. We've seen them pay off as well, so not the worst thing, but a mass recall comes out from Hakai. Looks like they're going to group up, push down this left-hand side, and, well, try to take things slowly again, but they don't have all that much time left to work with.
Yeah, 1 more minute on FG. They can maybe look for this left tier 2, but I think that'll be all they can get, and then they'll want to spend their gold again and look to group up and get some sentries down around fire. Items wise, they're pretty much at full build. When you see supports that are 6 slotted, you're feeling pretty good. Big Joe laughing about it. But yeah, this tier 2 probably not going to be too impactful, the extra gold that comes out here. Everybody in the game, just about at full build, just some upgraded relics to come.
Yeah, almost there, almost to that big final stage. And similar to game 1, we didn't touch on it in this game, but both drafts actually do well throughout the entire game. I wouldn't say the late game is particularly in favor of one team. It's just sort of semantics here and there between maybe the mid laners and such. But, you know, it's all going to come down to big plays, and we mentioned that, you know, it's fine margins, a very, very close game. They take the tier 2 and do retreat. They will not be going for a full-on Phoenix Siege. So we're going to do another Fire Giant dance. And I mean, I don't know, team fighting has always been in favor of Hakai, no matter what the situation. So I don't know, do Kumin have to do something quite different to take this fight, or are they almost there? And is it just, you know, maybe 50-50s here and there?
Yeah, we'll see. I think the problem right now is the jungler difference in these fights. I think Lina's finding a lot of impact, big AoE ults and things like that, and Omega's struggling to get anybody down into that execute range. And when they do get into the execute range, they have beads anyway. So Omega really struggling. It is one of the things about Aokwang. When you come into late game team fights, it can be hard to find impact just because of how in the mix you have to put yourself, and the fact that it's hard once you get in there to guarantee a kill to get you out. If you can get that execute off, you're golden. But yeah, if they can enable Omega and maybe Chiron hit some big roots, some big ults to sort of force out those beads and allow Omega to get in there and pick up the kill, I feel like that's the sort of winning formula for Kumin and Zoomin.
In the player damage charts here, both mid lane mages really, really high on up there, and we've been seeing that, you know, that is consistent with what we've been watching. The poke damage is just so high, but in a poke fight, you would favor the team with much better healing, but Lina takes a fight against Omega, who heals all their health right back up, and the Susano almost fell early on, and that is the go button for Kumin and Zoomin. There's a landfall, does get 3, but only pulls 2. Now Cheeto is able to retreat. The counter punch damage pretty good from Hakai, but a lot of abilities expended on both sides. Now Kumin and Zoomin, the ones with the territory. What can they do with it though? Because there's a Trebuchet pushing up left. Fire Giant does get started up. Some good damage coming out from Chiron. They're just trying to bait the enemies forward right now. No commitment to this Fire Giant. Sped looking for an angle. Chiron repositioning. They take a lot of damage and gets knocked up by the Fire Giant, but still wants to go in anyway with a solar swing. Doesn't quite connect. There's a lot of thrown out here and there from both sides, but a big Sikkim gets through, and now Yeet falls down early on. The counter aggression coming out from Omega does get the shutdown onto Lina. Now it's Big Joe aggressed on by Sped, who gets counter aggressed, but Big Joe dashes into Omega, dashes right into the target they do not want to hit. Now Mike still wants to get forward onto Albie, who burns the Aegis, but this fight is not going well for Hakai. It's a 1-for-2. The support is down. The fight continues on. The sustain is good from Hakai. Can they take this 4 versus 3 engagement? It's not easy, but the damage coming out from Mike is pretty good, and neither side can go for this Fire Giant just yet.
Yeah, it's slowing it down now. Our Kumin and Zoomin, though, grab the Pyromancer as Kai continues to shoot up the damage charts. 40,000 now in this game as FG does get pulled back to base. Goes the Guan Yu, as they're going to be able to teleport back in another FG knockup. We've seen a few of those in the last couple minutes, and Omega will turn around onto the Guan, but there it is. Who's got the secure?
Nobody! Hakai!
Whoa, got it.
I get it. I can't get it. They take, I think, with the Dharmic Pillar's the only thing still sustaining damage onto the objective. Hakai get the second EFG. It's 3 down on both sides. There's not even that high value of a Fire Giant. Messy calls from both sides, but oh man, is it entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this is back and forth like Maui on that swing. This is going absolutely mad. I have no idea what's happening in this game. I don't know who's going to take it. I don't know what's going to happen in the next fight. I don't know why Big Joe just dashed into the enemy jungler. I think that the players, the occasion is maybe getting to the players a bit. It feels panicked. It feels frenetic and exciting, which is good. It's good watching, but maybe not good spite.
This is some good content at the very least. So inting for content is, I believe, what we call it over here. So I'm loving it. I'm loving the action and the back and forth nature of it. But it just needs some cool heads, right? You just need someone to take control of a situation. Big Joe has played very, very well on this Scylla, despite being dove there. But I don't know why they sentinel to that position. It's almost never a good call to go that way. You have so many safer options, but it does benefit Hakai in the end. They are slightly in the ascendancy, but 2 enhanced Fire Giant buffs only on your front lines. This is close to an even game at this stage, but now Phoenix Siege is coming through. Phoenix defense is always in the defender's favor. I don't know. Can Hakai do it? Are we going to a game to another game? Like, are we going to? Is it game 3 or game 4? I don't even know anymore. Are we going to this next all-important game, or I don't know? Can Kumin turn this into a big wipe and then maybe run it down mid? I just have no idea what's going to happen next.
Me neither. It's one of these things as well. I feel like when you get a two-person FG, it's a little bit of a trap. You know, you're tempted. Yes. You're like, oh, we have FG. We're in the ascendancy. I want to push. I want to do things. But pushing a Phoenix is almost never good in this situation. You very rarely get anything out of it unless you have, I don't know, unless you have a plan. Maybe you can split. And the FG being on the 2 tanks, it means they have sustain, but it means you're not taking away the backdoor protections on the Phoenix on anybody who matters. So it's going to be very, very difficult to siege this. I would like to just see maybe a bit of patient play here out of a Hakai, as difficult as it is to call that. Chill out, get the wards set up around FG again, and look for the next fight, and maybe try and get FG on more than 2 people this time.
Yeah, it's only Mike connecting the damage at the moment. Everyone as far away from the fight as they can stand to have it. Now, both junglers in the middle lane means that this isn't going to be a full 5-on-5. Sped takes a big chunk to start this fight. Will have to return to base, but can come back very quickly too. Cheeto actually takes no health damage in that fight. Dueling Dragons comes out. Doesn't really connect either. That's a lot expended now. Left side Phoenix in some trouble. There is the Petrify, and the landfall's pretty good, but not quite good enough. The Heimer Monster comes through, nukes down Omega, who has to retreat themselves. Jumping on in is Yeet. A very tense, very cagey fight. No one committing to too much forward, but the Phoenix keeps most of its health.
Yeah, a whole lot used and a whole lot of nothing happens, really. Everybody taking, abilities hitting, you know, Scylla ult hits over the wall, and then at the end of it, everybody's full HP, standing, staring at each other again, but we're down 6 ults. So we'll see if anything can happen out of this. Cheeto's ult will be back up again the soonest out of all that CDR in their build, short cooldown on that Dharmic Pillar. So we'll see if they can look for another play when that comes back up. Big Joe as well needs to look for a good Sikkim Crush combo. There is the ult. Forward goes Lina over the wall. What a play!
Lina goes in, gets the first kill of this fight, but can Sped zone away this backline enough. The Phoenix still stands. The Fire Giant is about to despawn, but the damage is pretty good from all 5 members now who take this 5-on-4. Mike finds the shots they need. All at long range. Sped falls down. Left side Phoenix will burn down too. Fire Giant gone from all members of Hakai. I don't know if they quite have what it takes to push in, but they're gonna take their time, re-engage onto this mid lane Phoenix. A big, big statement from Hakai there.
Yeah, they make the call. They take it slow. They're pretty patient on it. And all of a sudden, Lina finds that engage, gets the ult, gets the blink, and gets just a huge pick-off onto Kyron, but a huge ult out of the Maui. And there's the follow-up, and there's so much damage, but nobody falls. Heroes X, Guan Yu does it all. Scylla ult over the wall, hits nobody, but Lina's ult is available again, and it connects again. Lina doing it all for Hakai.
They stagger the respawns. They take down 2 Phoenixes. Look at the Titan's health bar. Just all melts away. Now Omega tries to find whatever pick they can, but it does not matter. Titan falls down. Hakai claw this one back. And we are going to be heading to another game. Hayzer, Hakai have some signs of life.
Yeah, really nice play by them. The Guan Yu again as a great game. And as the game went on, Lena really grew into that one. Couple dodgy ults in the early to mid game, but those last couple ults were anything but. Picks up kills on the left Phoenix, on their own left Phoenix, picks up kills on the enemy left Phoenix, and then picks up that last kill in mid as well. Fantastic stuff out of Lena.
Difficult situation. They were down for most of that game. They turned it around, got through a Phoenix siege, which is always extremely difficult to do, but they turn it into a win. So we do have a set on our hands, Hayzer, but you know what that means? That means we're going to take a very short break. Do not go anywhere, because I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to get to see even more action as these games go on.
Hakai with their backs against the wall. Don't give it 110%. They give it 150%. Taking game number 2 here in 45 minutes here. An incredible showing from this team. And honestly, I can't even say it was a 180. It was a full 360. Such a revelation for so many of these players. Azza looking incredible. Liner actually showing up to the game. Big Joe getting to do big damage. It was a fantastic showing here, East, from the entire team the entire time.
Absolutely. Great performance by both teams, to be fair. Both teams had a lot of chances to win it, but Hakai just clutching it up, really.
It was incredible looking there. And we were talking a little bit in between on the break side of things, like how we look at like picks, like if we let the Guan Yu through, do you try and pick Hades into it? Do you just say no Guan Yu at all? Like what kind of things was it that Kumin and Zoomin could look at and say, is it a draft diff? Did we just get outplayed?
I think it was a combination of both. I definitely much preferred the Hakai draft going into the game, and I think Hakai just clutched up a little bit better in the team fights with better shot calling and things like that. In terms of the Guan Yu, they could look to ban it or just pick the Hades into it. I mean, either of those options is fine, but you can't just let Guan Yu come through and then pick something that's not as great into it. Just, I don't know, 18k healing that game is just that's what it's
disgusting.
Yeah.
Pretty gross. And the idea with Omega, I was keeping track on the scoreline. Like my notes were really dismal. It's like Alcon got fed early, got a double kill in the duo lane, game's over. And they sort of end up in the mid game where it's like, all right, they're still kind of there. They can still get some executes. But then late game, they spent like 20 minutes at 6-6-1. Finally gets a huge fight in the end, but it took so much effort to get Omega involved in these fights. Whereas Lino was just absolutely running shop in these jungle corridors.
Yeah, there looked to be a little bit of lack of a strategy, just from Kumin and Zoomin in general. It wasn't really clear whether they were trying to pick frontline with these Aokwang executes or get onto the backline. It wasn't clear in every single fight what the plan was. I think that's clear from the draft as well. They just kind of don't really synergize that well together. I think that's something they should be looking to get more of in the next game. Some more synergy, I think, in their draft.
Well, speaking about draft, let's see what they've gone ahead and cooked up as we come on into game number 4 here. The Zoomin and Kumin group versus Hakai. Still all to play for here, and lives on the line for Zoomin and Kumin. Thor is the first ban here going away. Kumin and Zoomin do have that first pick here. And it's been Kronos, Cthulhu, and Ishtar or Kepri from Hakai here. I'm really concerned if they keep running these 3 bans. We are seeing a change up here, though. Scylla's off the table.
Yeah, I like that, taking the Scylla off the table here. It's something that Joe's shown that he's comfortable on. It's safe. It does a lot of damage. It's just a strong pick right now as well.
And there's Guan Yu taken as well. So we're going to see at least 2 new gods in this matchup here. Yamoja is gone as well. Very strong gods. I'd love to see what Cheeto could do on something like this, but we're never going to get the opportunity to do so. But first pick-wise, are there any major picks that are standing out that could still be left on the table as Ishtar's gone?
Hades, Kernanos, there's all sorts of gods that are up right now that could be picked. Kronos as well, yeah, there we go. Locked in straight away.
Well, this Kronos has been respect banned every single time from Hakai. Question I gotta ask then, is this going mid, or are we seeing this back on over to the duo lane?
I would expect to see it mid. I think it's better in mid. It's just a lot of burst. I think the best way to build Kronos is burst, and you expect to see that more out of mid laner rather than an ADC.
That's very true. The idea of Kronos full magical power reminds me a lot of the old days when we saw like Zeros pick Soul into the mid lane and just built like 1,000 magical damage on them. It was kind of gross to see some of the things. I'm sure Kronos has the same options, but Khepri and Bologna here for Hakai. We saw how impactful Khepri was at just allowing your teammates to dive incredibly deeply, and Bologna loves sticking around in these fights. It's some good early boxing here for this solo matchup.
Yeah, I like the Bologna pick as well, because I think they've recognised the Kronos is probably going mid. You're probably going to have a Hunter in duo, so you're probably going to have a Bologna with a disarm into the two what are effectively ADCs late game.
As we round out top side for Zoomin and Kumin, going back to the Ravam, which did a lot of good work diving in game 1, but Sobek to change things up here. I think we're out of the days of saying that this is gonna be the solo back. It doesn't quite feel like a kind of god for speed here, but I mean, hey, it's sustain. That's about all I got. It's probably support.
Yeah, I would imagine it's support. I certainly hope so. Although I don't know, I just think Sobek's not a great god. Kind of one of those gods that probably needs either buffs or a rework, really, because you pluck into the team and you kind of just get blown up.
It doesn't quite have that same safety that Naja has. Sure, it's a shorter cooldown, but the nice thing is Naja gets to return to where he fired the ability from. Sobek doesn't quite get that luxury, as the last pick here on the first round is Vulcan. We've seen this banned out in the second round of bans near enough every single game here, and this is one of those gods who's been making a huge impact across the battle round. Earthshaker is ridiculous damage, but everything on his kit feels like it's ridiculous damage.
Yeah, Vulcan's very strong right now. I think the buffs that brought him low cooldown on abilities, and then the buff about the backfire, which means that you can fire it whilst crippled, just makes Vulcan such a strong pick in the meta at the moment.
Yeah, and similar ideas with like Scylla, where you've got, I've got penetration in my kit. She's got that penetration on the turret as well. It's kind of gross in all points of the game. And honestly, like, I always love watching Vulcan players to see what they level. Some level a meatball second, some go turret if they're kind of cringe. But there's a lot of options available, as Ram is on the line now for Hakai. And Mike's been having a kind of a strange one. Game 1, they were very dominant on the Danzaboro. Game 2, this Ishtar showed up towards the later stages, but Ram kind of has to try and tread the line for a little bit, as rounding it out now, Hachiman and Achilles for Kumin and Zoomin.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, some may call me a little bit troll for saying this, but I think executes are overrated into Khepri. It's not that often when you're in the fight and you see the Khepri ult someone, you think, right, now I execute them. It just doesn't happen. Team fights don't happen that way. You get caught up doing other things. So I think the execute's kind of overrated into the Khepri, in my opinion.
Yeah, what you say about being caught up doing other things. How about running away from a great pillar that you are feared away from? This Hunbats is phenomenal with the team fight here. I absolutely adore, just like last game, I love Hakai's draft here. It feels like they want to scrap. They've got some incredible late game assurance, but they don't fall away hard early. But it's all on the jungle again. And we know from games 1 or games 2 and 3, if the jungle falls behind for Hakai, it's really kind of difficult for them to find any other footing.
Yeah, absolutely. Some interesting drafts, to be fair, as well, from both sides. I think I would go in favour of probably Hakai. I'm not a fan of Achilles. I'm not a fan of Sobek. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of those gods.
It's a strange draft from Kumin. It feels, again, I look at this and I go, Hakai, yeah, you've got synergy. Big Vulcan ult, great team fight, CC control, plant a spot where you're going to fight there. Kumin and Zoomin, not sure quite where that synergy lies. And, well, last time I asked that question, we saw that team ended up coming apart at the seams. But game 4 on the line here. Hakai still need to battle back. 2 in a row here. Let's go over to Judas and Hayzer to see if they can do it.
Thank you, Blair. On the desk, it is, of course, still match point for Kumin and Zoomin. Do not forget that. This could be it. And this might well be the last hurrah for Hakai. However, as you can see out on the desk, their draft might be a little bit more cohesive. But I'm Judas Priestley, joined by Hayzer. And Hayzer, I do have to know, how do you feel about these two very, very different drafts?
Yeah, it feels like Hakai is the more it's the much more meta draft. You know, if I rocked up to the SBL and watched some SBL and I saw a team who drafted this Hakai draft, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be like, what's going on here? But you see a Hatchie-Man, a Sobek, and an Achilles on the same team, and you're questioning it a little bit. But let's see if they can do it. Maybe it is just comfort picks for them. I know Trix makes the Sobek work. In the SEC, he makes it look good. I don't know how he does it because I feel like the character. I'm kind of on the same page as our desk there, thinking that Sobek plucks in and he dies. That's what he does.
Oh, we certainly have questions. Let's see if Kumin and Zoomin have the answers. But that's a nice stun there onto Mike early on. A lot of early pressure coming through from Sobek. Of course, that is one thing that Sobek does better than anyone in the game at the moment, at least this game, I should say. But, you know, we'll have to see how this goes because looking at these two drafts, these look like much more late game focused drafts. So getting early pressure is not that important. But Lionel wants an early kill, finds the angle around, misses with the Furious Monkey though, and we'll have to just take the consolation prize of this scepter. But that's a good way to alleviate some pressure in the duel lane.
Yeah, not too bad there. We'll see. Should still be able to pick up these duo side mid harpies as well, so not bad, but will lose back harpies on the solo side. Good heads up play there by Omega to just go and farm those, take that XP and gold away. One thing that I'm excited to see this game is Kai on this Chronos. Chronos being really highly prioritized in the bans, and Kai jumps at taking it in the first pick slot. And I'm excited to see if they can kind of justify that pick, how well they can play on it.
It's always risky taking a Chronos in the first pick slot, you know, but I mean, they clearly wanted it, and Hakai were, I mean, I guess right to ban it if that is what they were hoping for. But now we have to, you know, see if Kai could put his money where his mouth is, you know, like all right, we've given the priority. That's what Kuma will be thinking right now. They've given the priority to their mid lane. Like, can you make it work? Can you make this god stick? But you know, it's going to be a while until we can really see the answers to that question. But, I mean, Chrono's just so strong right now. It's almost inevitable that they come online, you know? They just need, ironically, a bit of time.
Bit of time, a Book of Thoth, a Polynomicon, and then you're absolutely swinging. The build path, I think, is what makes Chronos good at the moment. Similarly to a few gods, like I think Kukulkan, Scylla, come back into the meta for similar reasons. The build path just really, really suits them, and Chronos coming back into mid because of that. But I do like this matchup. Big Joe picks up the Vulcan. Vulcan, one of the few characters, he just has so much burst. And Chronos doesn't really have too much recourse for it. You've got the rewind, but oftentimes against a god like Vulcan, you won't get it oftentimes.
It's also worth pointing out the pseudo ban coming out from Hakai in that they picked up Capri as their support, and they almost had to, right? If you let the Capri go to Kumin and Zoomin, you're just not killing this Chronos. Chronos has lately been building, or at least we've seen, been building that alternate timeline coming through. And if Chronos has 3 lives, that is it. You just have no chance at all. So almost forced into this Capri pick, but we did see them pick it up early on. So, you know, definitely confident on this pick is Cheeto, and I think I've actually casted a few games of Cheeto playing this pick. So, you know, it's maybe something you're happy to be forced into, but it does change things up just a touch. And do they maybe still have the dive and the burst needed to, you know, really facilitate a useful Capri here?
Yeah, it's difficult with Capri because he is more of a backline support, right? He struggles to engage as well as a lot of other supports. But one thing I think he does do pretty well against is relatively immobile characters like Chronos. Chronos, if he gets rooted by the Capri, doesn't really have any recourse there. He just will take the root, or he'll beads, or he'll ult, you know? There's no quick fire movement ability to get out of there. So I do quite like the Capri counter pick into the Chronos.
All right, well, we'll have to see how that goes on, especially when we see these supports rotate on over to the middle lane. But I believe we already had, like, 3 kills at this point in the last game, so definitely a slower paced one this time. More standard, more to be expected. of course, especially with the drafts, right? Neither jungler really wants to get involved before level 5. That Scepter does go the way of Hakai, so another small win for them. But with a Chronos, it means Kumin are going to be slowing the pace for sure, and double Hunter comp tends to be more favored in the late game. So I don't know. I feel like everyone should put their feet up and get their popcorn ready, because this one might be a long one.
Yeah, we could definitely go late here, and both teams will scale and they won't mind going there. I mean, Bats in the jungle, crazy good late. Nothing wrong with a Raven at late game either. Vulcan, Chronos, all fantastic. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe we'll see a little bit of action in the mid game. Maybe Omega will look to try and pressure out one of these side lanes. I think that's what I'd be looking to do on the Raven. And we do see this Golden Blade Achilles. This is something that we saw in the SCC qualification tournament out of Europe a lot. This Golden Blade Achilles in the solo lane. It's really interesting. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me on first viewing, but they seem to make it work.
I mean, anything that helps, and we'll have to keep an eye on Sped here to see. Obviously, a lot of these players do watch the professional streams and everything, or semi-professional for SEC. And, they can copy these things, right? But it's one thing to copy it, and it's another thing to understand it. Now, Sped, very experienced solo laner, as we've seen, but we'll have to see how they can make this build work, because, like I said, you do have to understand exactly what makes it good. And Golden Blade into a Bellona, maybe not the best choice, but it's not for now, right? It's for later on, and in these late-game teamfights. But Liner with an early rotation, there's the blink, there is the damage, there's the CC chain, and there is nothing that Sped could do about that one.
Yeah, just back to lane. Picked up that Golden Blade, walked back to lane. Teleport still on cooldown, so we'll probably be walking back one more time. That's a really awkward timed death for Sped there, and kind of shows that you just can't box in this lane right now. This Bellona has too much damage, going for a bit of Fizzprot, and has a bit of damage coming through with the Berserker Shield. Sped, no Fizzprot on the table just yet with the Golden Blade, so just really struggles in the lane right now. So needs to wait it out and try and get that next item online, and then can maybe start to trade.
Big angle onto Big Joe. That is the res coming through, though, and despite them not actually falling, that was a very, very safe Vulcan, but a really big angle there found by Yeet there, and that was really close. So something that, Big Joe will have to be mindful of. You can't just Sentinel out anymore. You're on Vulcan, much more immobile, have to be way more careful with your positioning. And an early warning sign, but that's the beads and the Scarab's Blessing down, so there might be another opportunity coming soon for the Kumin and Zoom in mid lane.
Yeah, it was a nice play. No kill there, so you kind of wish you got the kill, but you force the mid laner to miss a wave. You get the beads, you get the Scarab's Blessing. It's a pretty big win overall for Kumin and Zoomin, and now they need to capitalize on that, right? They need to be taking those timers and looking to play around them from now on. Whether that's just in terms of map pressure and the Vulcan having to play very safe, or in terms of looking for another kill.
There was Omega making the rotation, but Liner sniffed it out and was ready to capitalize if Omega had pounced into that lane. But no, we'll let that one slide and just leave this dual lane alone for a while. But both these hunters really want to show up in the later game. Both these solo laners wanting to brawl and box and are very scary targets. But so, I don't know if you're the junglers right now, both junglers, do they have a specific goal in mind right now? Or is it just kind of farm up and wait to have an impact in these team fights?
I do like the idea of Lina looking to go over to the solo side a little bit more. Again, Achilles opting for the teleport, not the beads. No Fizzprot online just yet, just getting into that round shield. So I think the play has gotta be to try and continue to punish this Achilles and to give your Bellona a lead that you can capitalize on going into the mid game. I think Achilles does scale a little bit better than Bellona, but Bellona definitely stronger at this point in the game. Lina maybe caught out by said Achilles, but a great bat soul will keep Lina safe.
Gets the Fear No Evil just in time, but Omega wants to give chase this. There's the Mystic Rush across, but similar ability is as a jumping forward with that rally flag will keep the aggression going and will take down Omega in the middle of 3. Does not matter. Bellona cares not for your aggression, but now Chiron gets caught there by an abduct. There's a lot of damage coming through, and that's the rewind forced out, and they're still not in a very good position, but Big Joe needs to be careful because there's Yeet coming around the corner. A ton of damage onto this Vulcan, but the turret comes down, and that is why you pick Vulcan into Sobek, because that is the pluck there completely neutralized. There's still some aggression from Azza. This game suddenly explodes to life.
Yeah, turret takes one for the team there for Big Joe. Not bad at all, but a nice fight. That wasn't how I anticipated fights breaking out in the solo lane for Lina and Co. I thought Lina and Co could look for some aggression, but this time it was counter aggression. Just over chasing, and Azza able to put the DPS out and ended up taking down Omega. So again, a nice fight on the solo side of the map. Solo jungle for Hakai are the ones that are going to need to take hold of this game and kind of run with it now. Run with their lead and control the map.
Yeah, it's actually quite a sizable lead, despite it only being 2 kills to 0. You know, that's several thousand gold, which at this stage is pretty substantial. You know, it's only 10 minutes in, no objectives off the map, but 2.5 gold and experience. That is crazy amounts right now. So Kuman and Zoom need to find a way to stem the bleeding a little bit here, as the solo lane and jungle are struggling a touch. I don't know, maybe they need to be paying their attention elsewhere, but Hakai right now not really giving them an opportunity.
Yeah, the issue I think for Kuman and Zuman right now is there's nowhere where they're winning, right? They're the Ram versus the Hachiman. You expect the Ram to have pressure. Vulcan versus Chronos, kind of the same. And then you look at the 2v2s with the junglers. Well, the Humbats is ahead now. So there's very few places where you have a winning fight. You've got to maybe try and be a bit sneaky here. Omega needs to look for a surprise gank and maybe able to equalize the pressure a little bit. Because right now, Hakai just kind of running over them.
Yeah, and despite the ticking clock of a Chronos on the other opposing side, Hakai can wait this out. They can take their time because they do have decent late game of their own. That's Albi dashing in with the Aijutsu there, wants to get aggressive onto Mike, but I mean, we've seen the flaws of Sobek, right? It's just evidence right there. Gets a good gank angle and impacts the map. Not at all. There was nothing there that Yeet was able to contribute to that engagement. And now Pyromancer started up. Turret goes down, so that's a decent amount of DPS off the table. Lina is here too. Spared ready to get aggressive. There's some ultimates contributed because that's all they need to do. Take this Pyromancer. Oh, the Gold Fury on the other side. Maybe Hakai overcommit, overstep. Woo! Astral Barrage over the wall. Not quite ready there for Mike. Just off on the timing. And that's a small win for Kuman, actually.
Yeah, Hakai, they really committed to that Pyromancer using the Bat Salt, using the Vulcan ult. But they lose the trade overall. They are the ones who are in this ascendancy here, and they go for the weaker of the two objectives, which I think is a little bit of a mistake. If they look to play over on the Duo side of the map, go for that Gold Fury instead, the Bellona will be able to handle any pressure around the Pyromancer pretty much on her own, as is in a great spot at this point, you know? So I think just a little bit of a misplay there by Hakai, picking the wrong objective and getting a little overzealous.
Yeah, of course they have the top secure on the map, right? That Earthshaker is unbeatable by absolutely anyone here. So they can take a contested engagement, right? Because they have the big secure, and you just have to make sure you take the fight afterwards. But as we've discussed, Kuman and Zuman do not have a strong team fight just yet. You know, we do have Raven, which is going to be a big threat. We've already seen what Omega can do on this pick, but not going to see much from Chronos, not going to see much from Hachiman early on. So I think, yeah, like you said, they kind of dropped the ball here. There was definitely the window there to go for the Cold Fury, not the Pyro. But I mean, Hakai are taking the objective. They still have their lead that they need. They are still in the ascendancy, and Kuman are the ones who kind of have to make the plays now.
Yeah, it's by no means a disaster for Hakai. Like, they trade objectives. They're still firmly in control of this game, but it's just that these little misplays and little inefficiencies can add up over time and make what should be a 10k lead a 5k lead as the game goes on, and maybe that could be the difference. But Hakai just need to shrug that one off and keep playing like they're playing, because they're really controlling the game. Just a little bit of a missed call, I think.
Yeah, really no opportunities anywhere on the map right now. Mike winning the trade after taking a bit of a early disadvantage, and that's just what Rama does into Hachiman. It's not an easy fight. Anywhere at all on the map, and yeah, it's an interesting composition that Kuman have gone for, but they're just not gonna fight anything anytime soon. It feels like you said, you need Chronos to pick up the Polynomicon, which they've now done. They have a Book of Thoth and the Polynomicon, so will now be starting to hit hard. Can they burst these targets down quickly enough? I suppose that'll be the all-important question for Kuman.
Yeah, it is a blink for Kai again, by the way. Goes for this blink, did it on the Yanis, and now does it on the Chronos as well. Gonna try and be getting into that backline, taking advantage of the poly to maybe blow up Mike and Big Joe in these fights, as Mike gets pressured on by Yondanene. Yondanene really focusing over on this Joe side of the map, it feels, looking for plays onto Mike.
Yeah, trying to find another gank, but Sobek's gank potential is just not really there. You need to really manufacture an angle on the pluck, and even then, it's tough to make it worthwhile. But that's the attempt, and you have to respect it because there's really nowhere else they could do it. I think Vulcan is pretty safe, and if you do overstep to a Vulcan, you might find yourself just falling down. So you can take these sort of risk-free gank attempts on the left-hand side of the map, and has come away risk-free. Actually spots out Lina here, maybe not aware of their surroundings, has to leap away, needs to now watch out for this charge prey. The collapse is coming in though. Albi on one side, nice blink will get them safe, and the beads comes out from Chiron. I guess that's just how it goes when you Kronos. You need to be constantly on the edge.
Some oopsies there. Maybe meant to blink, maybe meant to, I don't know, type something out, doing some VGS, and enemy missing maybe. But yeah, a little bit of a mistake there by Kai. We'll see if it's punished.
But yeah, did they see? Did Hakai see that beat? I'm not sure. They might have heard it. I wonder if Kai thought there that, maybe thought Lina was just going all in and was going to blink onto the Kronos and go for an ult. But it's like I said in the previous game, this is a best of 5 that both these teams really, really want to win. You can be on edge. It can be tough to play in a finals. There is a question of scale. There are certainly bigger finals than others. Here's Mike now getting aggressed on, has to return the damage as the reinforcements come through. Big Joe with a big rotation all the way over, but now here's Yeet taking some damage. There's the abduct right into turret range, and that's a worthwhile rotation over to the dual lane. But in the solo lane, there's also a fight going on. Albi burns the Aegis to survive for just a touch longer. There's the execute onto Azza that Sped has really been needing in this solo lane. There's Mike now, stays alive by virtue of the Skull of Blessing. Albi falls down, Tier 1 falls down. It's another good fight for Hakai overall.
Yeah, nice rotations there out of both mid laners as well, going to the differing side lanes and making plays for their team, trying to get impactful. Both do end up crediting their team with a kill. Pyromancer, it looks like, will be picked up for Kai and Co here. Maybe should have seen a Gold Fury pull straight away, but I think this will go over to Hakai in the end anyway, just through their sort of natural lead. It's hard for Kuman and Zuman to contest this.
Yeah, well, they will now make the rotation over. Omega sniffs it out. On the way is Mike, but there's no one else here just yet. Big Joe is on the rotation, but does not have the Earthshaker available, and that might just be what stops Hakai from really wanting to commit to this. But, Mike is pretty strong right now on this Rama. Does a lot of damage and has the crit online with that Executioner. But now, full groupings on either side. This Gold Fury certainly the point of contention, but it's all in Hakai's favor if they can get properly set up for it.
Yeah, it looks like they will just opt to start clearing out waves again. It's okay. I was wondering if Azza was going to go back over to that solo side of the map there, but no. Sticking around in mid, I like this play. Set up for this Gold Fury, force the 5v5 while you're stronger. But this leads, it's not huge. It's really a pretty tight game. And Azza getting poked out in mid, plucked back. There is the time rift, and the damage starting to come through onto this Bellona. She needs to worry if she gets into execute range.
Yeah, clearly trying to hold on to the Eagles rally there, but Omega spotted out by Mike. That's a lot of damage coming through initially. And there's Yeet trying to find a pluck onto this Rama, but the Abduct comes through instead. Sobek now low health, has to retreat. Earthshaker comes through long range, but will not connect. They're committing a lot to this support. They really want to set up for this Gold Fury. It's just not quite there for them, but with a lot of abilities expended, or at least a couple of abilities expended, I'll be pushed up on the left. They're going to go for the Primal rather than the gank. This is going to be an interesting fight no matter which way you spin it.
Yeah, really, really difficult for Albi to play this. Apparently it's difficult for Lina to play this because that all whiffs. But the Gold Fury goes down anyway. That's what they really came for. And will they also pick up a couple kills here? Damage onto Sped. There comes the Ram snipes. First one was on point, and so is the third. Mike picks up another kill, and they chase further. Raven kind of stuck in here. Omega will ult away, rooted out, but now Cheeto in trouble, has to ult himself, but will survive.
Well, they're continuing this fight, but there's not a lot here to fight for. Oh, but that's a big shot from Big Joe there with the backfire coming through. Yeet now chased down. The teleport from Lina comes through. Somersault just in place, though, and Albi has advantage here. Got to vote for the shots. Aegis Amulet out. It's a decent win already for Lina, and they do get tagged up with the teammates. But they'll end up falling down anyway. Didn't tank the tower for long enough. No Solar Blessing available for them. good fight overall for Hakai, but still these scrappy fights that we love to see.
Yeah, and they get the gold and they get a couple kills as well, so not too bad overall for Hakai there now. But this lead, it should be growing faster, I feel. There's these fights that they have so much potential. They could have got gold, a couple kills, and no deaths and pushed down a tier 1, but instead they're ending up trading out some kills. There's farm being wasted, and the lead is still only about 2,000. They really need to start to grow this, I feel. Yeah, 1.2k XP, 2,000 gold, there or thereabouts, so... Yeah, Kuman and Zuman very much still in this game.
Like you said, it really should be bigger than that, and that's just comes down to the two sneaky objectives that Kuman and Zuman have managed to pull away. And, you know, at some point, Chiron will start swinging on this Kronos. Actually, still only has 3 items, so I imagine they have a lot of gold in pocket right now. They spent all of this time that this fighting has been going on just farming up, clearing their own jungle, pushing waves up. So they definitely are going to become very, very relevant sometime soon. So, I mean, Hakai have to tidy it up. They're definitely in the ascendancy, but they can't let anything slip away, because one Fire Giant go the way of Kuman and Zoom in, and all of a sudden this game completely turns on its head.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder what Chiron's going to go for in this next time slot. Maybe a Chiron's coin going to come through, full Chiron's coin in the pocket, perhaps. We should see soon, but really power farming right now. Some might say greedy farming, looking for the punishes Mike, but won't get it plucked from Yi on the Nene. Not going to do a whole lot of anything apart from harass Mike a little bit and let Mike farm some player damage.
Ooh, well, we're seeing here exactly why Sobek doesn't get picked, because I think Yeet has played this pick as well as they could have, and it's really not having too much of an impact. Gets the pluck, but now has to retreat. That's a big combination coming through the ults, but not quite on the mark. Earthshaker doesn't even matter. Omega already falls. So does Yeet as Mike burns them down. Hakai have taken this early lead, are really starting to throw their weight around now and look to turn attention to this Fire Giant.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You talk about the Sobek, and the Sobek delivers to you immediately. The pluck puts him in danger. His team try and follow up to save him, and they just end up all falling down. 2 big ults there out of the bats, and Big Joe on the Vulcan with a zoning ult was actually pretty good. FGE will not be stolen. Nice try by Kai, and Kai now in trouble. In the middle of 4, it's a 4-person stun. But even that's not enough. Kai will fall. Teleport comes out to the duo tier 2 to prevent that falling. And it's FG on for all 5 members of Hakai.
I have been informed that Kronos had 5,000 gold in pocket. It would have been quite good to have that for that previous fight, but they do not. They give up the Fire Giant at the 22nd minute mark. Hakai have been in the ascendancy, don't have as quite a bigger lead as we've said they should, but now have the Fire Giant, now can start to pressure these towers, and is it just a bit too late? Chiron have built a full Spear of Desolation and Obsidian Shard. I've heard of power spikes. That one's a power mountain coming out right now, but they have to make it work, because this game's quickly slipping away from them.
Yeah, does that come too late? I thought it was greedy farming, but I had no idea how greedy it was. That is too much, Chiron. That is too much. You've got a B button user. You're not playing Assault. But through come the Deso and the Shard, I guess. So we'll see what the Kronos can do now that he actually does damage.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a lot of damage, right? I cannot mince words about this. We will see this Kronos show up and absolutely nuke someone. Not yet. That was just one shot on Azza, but that's still a reasonable amount of health on this level 20 Bellona. And I wonder if Hakai are aware of how much gold this Kronos actually has, because that is relevant. They have to be sure that when they are taking a fight against this god, that they're aware of the potential that it has. But they will take this tier 2 uncontested, and now will make their way over to the mid lane, sweeping the towers, as it were, as we do tend to see. And they're going to put themselves in prime position, but Kuman and Zuman have to be careful they don't give up too much in the process.
Yeah, I actually quite like what Albi's doing here, just splitting in left, making sure that someone has to mark that duo lane and making sure that the wave's not there for the duo tier 2, getting a little bit of gold back for their team. I like this split push play out of Albi. Albi been in duo lane a lot of this game, though, not had a whole lot of impact in the fights thus far. We'll see if they can get into it as the game goes on, but we'll maybe pick up that tier 2. No, looks like they will back and defend this mid Phoenix instead.
Yeah, definitely a risk of dropping this Phoenix if they're not careful, because this is a 4-on-5 engagement, but the Phoenix will equalize that quite a lot. They're having to go lurking in the waters just to keep themselves alive. But the tier 2 and left stays standing, as does the mid lane Phoenix. But still some time to work with on this Fire Giant for Hakai means that they can take this Oni Fury, maybe even turn that into a tier 2 tower push as well, and their gold lead just skyrockets.
Yeah, I'd quite like to see them stick around here and go for this duo tier 2 before backing, but we'll see. It depends. They probably will have a decent amount of gold in hand after getting a couple tier 2 towers and that gold fury as well. Back they go to base. Bats at least will fall back, and the others seem to be grouping around duo. Maybe they're just picking up buffs before backing themselves. So that might be the end of this FG push. We shall see. No, sticking around. 3 members stick around, 2 back. A little bit of a split call here out of Hakai, which I don't really love. I would like to see them synchronize here. Either all go back or all stay.
Yeah, of course, it does take some time to push up this left wave, but it does mean that, the members of Kumin and Zumin will be nearby before the rest of Hakai. So we'll have to see what their engagement looks like. They do, of course, have Mike on the Ram to take down this tower, but look at the healing coming out actually onto this tower from the Scepter will make a lot of difference in an extended engagement. Of course, Fire Giant buff despawning in 20 seconds. Tier 2 tower does fall down, and that will be the call to retreat. So they do split the call, but they do make it work, and Hakai are in prime position for this next Fire Giant.
Yeah, just no contest coming out there from Kumin and Zumin, really. Omega and Kai stay in mid, and they just chill out, pull out these Oni minions, get rid of those, and now both teams will focus on this Fire Giant. Should be Hakai looking to be the ones in the ascendancy here, looking to be the engagers and the aggressors. They want to get their wards down at this point, back, get some more wards in their pockets, and then set up for this objective.
You know what I really like, and I again, we don't know if they're aware about how many items Chiron backed to purchase on this Chronos, but they haven't fought this Chronos a single time since buying that. So all of that time that they were waiting before buying this, just completely wasted because they spent a lot of time on a weak power spike. They've now raised their level and had a big power spike, but now it's been equalized. And all of that lead that they potentially had has just gone away from them and had no impact whatsoever. So we'll have to see if this Chronos can come up big in this fight, but already 5 members of Hakai on the scene, and immediate aggression onto the Sobek, who can't do too much about it other than charge away at the last moment. But setting up here well are Hakai, and we'll have to see if they can turn this in as a big meatball comes through.
Yeah, 3-person meatball there, not too bad out of Big Joe, putting the damage out, and has got the upgraded starter already, so he is absolutely chunking, as you see. Wow. The meatball connects, with Kai, and Kai has to go back to base. Wow.
I think they're going to have to give this one up. They're not making any strides to get any sort of position that they need. And there's the Earthshaker. Doesn't even need it. As Hakai take that. Now look to take the fight, because this is a 4 versus 5. Whether they know it or not, the damage comes through to Yeet. Astral Barrage not even needed. And now the chase comes out from Liner. Final shot onto Omega. A lot of damage coming through with that Eagles Rally. This Raven nowhere to go but down and will fall. 5 members with Fire Giant against 3 members under their own Phoenix. As it leads the charge, dashing forward. This for Hakai to equalize the set, of course. And now this right side Phoenix already down. Mid lane Phoenix, will they go for it? Will they push straight to the Titan? Big chunk onto Kai again. Means they're going to be in some trouble, but there's the respawn coming in from Sped, but Kai down. Kai is down. This Chronos, the big priority target, already off the table. Mid lane Phoenix slowly burns down. Albi wants to step up. Cheeto finds an angle, gets a nice shot. The cripple onto the Hatchman means that they fall down, and this is it. The game is over. We're going to have to see if it gets equalized, but Sped will give chase to Big Joe. It doesn't matter though. Earthshaker back, Fear No Evil back, Eagles Rally back, and Hakai tie up the set 2-2. We are going to a game number 5.
We got a deciding game. Wow, it looked unlikely after that game 2 victory for Kumin and Zumin. They're 1 game away throughout. But my goodness, have Hakai come back, and Hakai have absolutely crushed it. This first pick, Chronos, you don't want to call it out, but you first picked the Chronos, and then you've not bought your items, and then you've not done anything in the game. We'll see if there can be any adjustment from that in the next one.
Yeah, the game just completely passed by Kai there, unfortunately, on the Chronos, not able to have the impact that was required. But that is it for this game. We go down to the deciding set. It's just poetic. The final game of the final set of the final competitive season of the year. What could be a better way to end the year. We'll have to see how this game shakes up as we come back very, very soon for our 5th and final match.
Thought I had her in a loose grip, that I'd take my time. She keeps calling and she just won't quit, and we all know why. Screws tried to lure me right into an affidavit. Remind me as I'm falling and I'm out of time. I'm caught up in your tongue, they say. You claim that you love me, but it's just another play. I'm stuck inside your room all day. You say it's for my safety, but I'm just one of your prey. She's got a gun and a bag and she's waiting for you. She has the time to decide how she's gonna kill you. You can keep running, keep your eyes wide open, but you never see it coming, no use. She's got a gun and a bag and she's waiting for you. She's got a gun and a bag and she's waiting for you. Hidden kisses always felt so sweet that they left me blind. Making promises we just can't keep, and it felt so right. Screws tried to lure me right into an affidavit. Remind me as I'm falling and I'm out of time. I'm caught up in your tongue, they say. You claim that you love me, but it's just another play. I'm stuck inside your room all day. You say it's for my safety, but I'm just one of your prey. She's got a gun and a bag and she's waiting for you. She has the time to decide how she's gonna kill you. You can keep running, keep your eyes wide open, but you never see it coming, no use. She's got a gun and a bag and she's waiting for you.
2.5 hours ago, the first seeded team with 14 wins and 1 losses was Kumin and Zoomin, looking to be the favorites to come into this match. Now find themselves tied in the best of 5 here, East. And if you'd have told me that was what it was going to be 2 hours ago, I'd have asked for a new chair 2 here, as we can make our way in Game 5. But before we get there, Game 4, break it down for me. Because I think some players on KNZ are going to have a breakdown.
Yeah, there just seemed to be a disconnect in the team fights, I think. There wasn't much synergy between the team, what they wanted to do. They picked this Sobek, which I don't think is a particularly great god, but never mind. So the plan's got to be get a good pluck, or a good blink pluck, or something like that to engage. Try and pick off a frontliner, burst them down, and then look to take the fight from there. Maybe get an execute if they get Kepri ulted. But it just never seemed to happen. There was never a clean team fight from Kumin and Zoom, and there was a lot of time where the Ravana wasn't in fight, or the Hachi wasn't in fight, the Kronos wasn't in fight. Just didn't seem to happen for them.
Yeah, it's an awkward situation where Compassion can almost out-heal your jungler. Yes, you are seeing that right. 4,000 player damage for Omega and 3,500 healing from this Kepri. That's not a situation you want to see, but for me, it's this Kronos. This was priority ban material every game. This was top pick. What was it supposed to do?
Yeah, it just... There was never really a moment where you think, this is a really good team fight for Kumin and Zoom, and they never seem to group, really. So I don't think it's all particularly on the Kronos, or all on the Ravana, or all on any particular person. They just never really seemed to group, which made it difficult for the Kronos to get damage off, made it difficult for Ravana, certainly, to get damage off. Because you just need a coordinated team fight. Because the grouping from Hakai was really, really good. They were team fighting really well. And they just couldn't get the synergy to get some damage off on them, unfortunately.
It's a kind of rough situation, and even going into this final games, picks and bans, it kind of feels like Hakai are the ones who have the momentum swing here. They've won the last 2 games quite well. The issue is now is, if you're KNZ, what are you doing? Like, we know that the last games, but sort of ban theory was, oh, ban Guan Yu and it's easy sailings. But now, how are you supposed to deal with what we're seeing from Hakai? They've adapted. Can they?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? I think going into the game 5, we'll just have to see what they can do to pick. I personally wouldn't be picking this Sobek. I think the Kronos is fine, but they just need to be a bit more coordinated in team fights for it to work out.
Well, let's see whether or not they can do that. Game 5. Now a best of 1 situation here between these 2 teams. How it's going to go, only they will tell us here. Picks and bans on their way. Kumin and Zoomin are first pick here. And they've had a bit more success on first pick, but they were first pick last game as well. Thor's still their first ban. I'm hoping we don't see a salty run back.
Yeah, I would hope not. They definitely need to switch their draft up a bit. It just didn't seem to work, really. Hakai seemed to know exactly what the plan was and how to counter it. So I need to see some switch-ups from Kumin.
So far, they are taking a little more time on this ban. They will go ahead and ban out the emoji. So far, so safe for this comp. Hakai will take away the Guan Yu. Whether or not we see the Chronos pick, they are going to go ahead and change things up. They will ban out the Bologna. I believe it was Ishtar that they wanted to ban last time, so really didn't like that here. Ishtar is banned, Chronos is open, Scylla is open as well. There's some options here for what's first picked, and there is no snap decision here.
Yeah, I really like the Bologna ban. It's something as has been very prominent on throughout the season. And I really like that first pick Kepri as well. It takes away something Hakai have really valued this set, and just allows for that more pick-based comp that both teams have been sort of trying to do, but not quite getting there.
Agreed. And while this has kind of been, I want to say like, oh, it's been the junglers who've been really impactful. We've seen when Linus had a great game, Hakai have a great game. When Omega has a great game, Kumin have a great game. But it's also kind of been that way for the supports as well. Both Yeet and Cheeto have been really good when they can get behind a hot hand.
Yeah, they've been really good recently. These Capriolts from Cheeto, I just need to see the same from Yeet and Danene.
Raven taken away. This to me feels more like this is like a sort of a pseudo ban here. Lina looking for a decent change up here, still good. Now Huka Lane coming through for speed, and Daji. That's been banned again every game in the second phase of bans. Now we're gonna see why.
Yeah, Daji is such a strong god in competitive, because even if you go up into the ult and you miss every single chain, even if that happens, whilst you're up in the air, the entirety of Hakai is thinking, can I dodge these chains? And that's just something going on in their head whilst they're trying to do a team fight. So even if all of them are missed, it's still something you need to be wary of. And of course, if you hit one, it's just a bonus. If you hit more than one, it's a massive team fight ultimate. So it's just such a strong god at the moment.
In my way.
Well, there's the Ram coming in again for Mike. Had some great lane pressure in. It was rightly called out in the game. And a good look for them. But there is one god who we've been seeing sort of hover around a fair bit, but no one seems to have picked it. Kernanos banned out finally. I was going to ask whether or not we see it picked, but good job, Hakai. You just ruined my next segue. Nice.
Yeah. I find it strange that God has not really been picked up in the top three of any drafts really these games. I think it's such a strong god. I think if Ishtar's not up, I think Kernanos is the second best ADC at the moment. It kind of fits into most comps. It's good pressure. Don't understand why it's not being picked up as quickly as it should have been probably.
Well, the Ganesh taken off the table. Scylla as well banned out by Hakai. Tia is taken out of the equation as well. Didn't know whether or not we were going to see a tier, but maybe Kumin knows something that I don't. Hakai now look to be looking for their front line here, but I'm gonna hope that that's not an AMC pick right now, because well, actually no, I'd be fine. I don't have to break it down. That's your job here. Break it down.
That's a troll hover pick. Absolutely, that's a troll hover pick for sure. There's no way that's locked in. There we go.
Okay, I can almost breathe now as we see the Achilles. Strange choice with the Achilles. We did see the Golden Blade pick up for running some early pressure to try and help with that against the Hucha lane. Well, that's just a pain train in almost all situations. But Heimdallr, as I'm sure will be quite a nice one. The Ram matchup still feels like it's still in Ram's favor, just those arrows, but hey, it can remove someone from the entire map for a few seconds, so what's better than a 4v5?
Has risen once again.
I'm questioning some things now on this Kumin draft. I just don't like the Ra and Heim into the Vulcan. I think it's, if you get any CC on either of those, it's a free Vulcanal or free Vulcan meatball. They're kind of just there, and they can't really avoid it without an Aegis.
And look at this, Maui returning to the battlefield once again. We saw some fantastic Masterful Fishermen. We've seen some fantastic landfalls throughout this set. And leaving it to the last pick here, it kind of slipped under the radar here, but we've got both of these drafts now, and I'm really glad to say it, I can see identity in both of them.
Yeah, there's definitely synergy between both team comps, which is, I think, something that's maybe been lacking the last couple of games, which is good to see. In terms of which one's best, we're yet to see. If I'm honest, I don't particularly like either draft, but I think the more meta one's probably Hakai. No, mainly just because of things like the Ra pick.
All right, then. So that's on that side of things. And I can certainly see it. The Ra, very immobile, has got speed of light, and that's about it. Let's hope that that is able to help them wiggle around. I'm looking at this, yeah, and I'm looking at like early aggression, like Vulcan and Raven setting up some issues for Ra. I'm looking at Ram trying to bully out a lane. I'm looking at Achilles trying to just hold on, and maybe we see some counter ganks into QQ lane. And Maui, wherever Maui wants to go, there's going to be able to help put some pressure on the board. Kuman and Zoomin, they are the ones now with their backs against the wall here for the final game here. And, well, I think we've talked about this one for long enough here, so we're going to go ahead, get on in to the final game here of the finals for the Galeria Smite League. For the last time, Judas, Hayzer, take it away.
We will take it, we will run with it, and hopefully we will zoom into this game. But Kuman and Zoomin have found that their pace to the final win has been very, very slow indeed. Not what they had in mind at all. But for the final time, as you've said, it is Judas here with Hayzer to back me up. And Hayzer, I think it's fair to say already that an all-important pick in this game is going to be Ra.
That's all I got.
Perfect.
I'm very surprised by the fact that they picked Ra and Time into this Raven jungle that was already picked. Seems an odd one to me, but we'll see if they can survive and do well. Daji for Omega as well. First time we're seeing Daji in this final. We need to see sparks fly.
Yeah, I need to see some sparks fly from both teams because Kuman and Zoomin have a reputation to protect. You know, you don't want to get reverse sweeped in this situation because let's not forget, a lot of these players will probably want to be playing in the next season, Season 3 starting in January. So it's all about what you can do through this season that will make their team's decisions coming up. But already the beads burned away from Kyron here. We'll have to see if they can keep this up. But this Ra is going to come under an immense amount of pressure.
Yeah, beads down already. Not a great look, but we'll see if Kyron can grow into this game as they have into others. I like that Big Joe's gone back to this Vulcan pick as well. I think it's something that Big Joe's been performing on. Ults have been slowly getting better and better as the games have gone on. So yeah, how has he gotten that? How did you do that?
I think that was the magic 5th unseen ability from Kepri picking that one up. I have no idea how they managed to swipe that one away, but I mean, it's a big pickup. We've discussed the momentum, and I mean, for small wins like that, they do help you reset, because Kuman and Zoomin need to reset. They came off of the worst defeat anyone has taken this set, and now Kyron gets caught, rooted in place, meatball to the face, will just about stay alive, but oh man, Kyron's going to have to face with this all game long.
Yeah, just about able to stay up for now. So that's okay. Getting through the laning phase, and it already seems like Omega and Kyron, I mean, you are a bit weaker in this mid TV2 for now, and it seems that Omega's just kind of sacking it. They're like, I'm going to go off, I'm going to farm my jungle, I'm going to go solo, maybe I'll maybe gank Joe. You just stay alive, and eventually you'll be able to heal us and maybe provide some snipes as we see aggression on the Joe side of the map.
Another contestable objective goes the way of Kuman and Zoomin. They're already winning this pressure so far, but some good aggression coming out from Cheeto. Lina was about to back to base, but maybe thinks better of it now, as there is a chance Albi gets aggressive onto Cheeto to peel for their support and can safely crystal on out of there. That's just what Heimdall does, and I mean, it's brave to switch to a different pick, you know, in the 5th game of a best-of-5 set, but Heimdall, one of those safe and steady picks, and I think it's a pretty reliable choice here.
Yeah, an interesting one to go to as well. I don't think Albi originally an ADC main, right? Albi's picked up the ADC role. These Maui 3s are going all over the place a little bit, but does get out of there this time. Cheeto will survive, and so will Mike. But pressure on the duo side seems to be the focus. Both junglers take an early trip over, and it looks like Omega will be rewarded with a purple buff invade.
Yeah, order of the day is dual lane investment from both junglers, but going away with a slight advantage there is Omega, of course, gets the buff invade, whereas Lina not able to pick up anything, unfortunately. Maybe should have back to base when they thought so, but trying to get aggressive again onto this solo lane, and we've seen both these junglers try to fight early, but I mean, this is EU. It just doesn't seem to work. It just doesn't seem to be happening for either of them right now, and they're not quite hitting it yet.
Yeah, not quite yet, but maybe. Well, I mean, this has to be the game. If there is going to be a game, this has to be the one. We've got the same pick as previously in the solo lane in this Achilles, but a new build. We won't be seeing Golden Blade this time. Looks like it will be a Runeforged, or is Blackthorn build off that tree as well, or is it just Runeforged?
Yeah, it might be Frostbound builds off that tree.
Yeah.
As well.
Frostbound definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would probably have to be a Runeforge. That does make more sense to me. Although it's not an item I've seen picked up too often either. Like I think Blackthorn Hammer's pretty good at the moment, and it is sometimes worth picking up. But we'll have to keep an eye on that build to see exactly how it goes. Big Joe takes some poke from Omega, but can't do much more than that. Does have the Powwow available, but not willing to commit just yet. But Big Joe, of course, on the Vulcan, no CC Immune ultimate as it was top picked. That's got to be the focus for Daji in these early stages.
Yeah, absolutely. Daji just punishes immobile mages without CC Immune ult so hard, and already past the hard bit as Omega. I would say like 1 to 4 is the weakest part of Daji's game. As soon as she hits 5, she's a good character, like a really strong jungler. And we haven't seen it for good reason so far in this set. First time it's gotten through. And I think, as I said earlier, we need to see Omega step it up, take control of this game, and make things happen. Picks up the Jotuns and now has that 20% CDR. So I want to see Bede start to get forced out and Omega start to sort of control this game.
Yeah, and seeing Lina here on the Raven. First time they have picked up this god, but we've seen 2 Raven games already in the set, both played by Omega, of course. One stormer of a game. It was a really good performance, and the second one really lackluster. So I don't know, maybe Lina just has to be somewhere in between, right? You don't really have to take over the game as a Raven, especially with a Rama and Vulcan. They'll be your damage dealers later on. It's just sort of finding angles and seeing if you can get some extra damage out. It's almost a bridge pick for this Hakai draft, because the rest of the squad kind of wants to wait until later on in the game to really have an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a little surprised to see this Raven picked up so high in the draft, but maybe it's because I think Daji is one of these picks for a lot of junglers where you either play her or you don't. And perhaps this is one that Lina not too comfortable on, and so kind of pre-counter picked that Daji, right? Grabbed that top 2, and then the Daji came through afterwards.
Yeah, the rest of the draft, of course, from Hakai, very focused on being able to counteract this Daji, because of course, you like we said, CC Immune ultimate's very important. So that's why they take the Ram. Same with the Maui coming through. It has the CC Immune ultimate, also just a good god to avoid Daji. Really doesn't struggle against it. But this is an extra important point about Maui, and not only does Cheeto have to be aware of this, but so does Omega. You can drop the fish, I don't know the name of it, the fish can go onto the powwow, and actually after people have been pulled in, they can very quickly be pulled right back out by Cheeto. So I do like the Maui pick in to Daji, but Daji has a very key target in Big Joe, and I don't know, they're really going to struggle to keep this Vulcan alive in these late fights.
Yeah, and even if it's quick, even if the fish flops out of there real fast, the Ra follow-up is so quick on the Daji. The one and then the Searing Pain. I mean, it's so much damage so quickly, so reliably. So if you get pulled in and Kai's around, I have to feel like you're going to die.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we do see very often, where the jungler plans a perfect setup with the mid laner. We see Ra combined with gods like Najat, same with Kukulkan. There's a bit of sneakiness coming through. Mike, not aware of it. Oh, it seems like they are. Lina pinging that one out. Very important there, because this would be a very good time to take down the Rama. But both teams aware of the circumstances, aware of the stakes right now, definitely playing things carefully. Omega rolls out over these oracles. Cheeto wants to get aggressive. There's also some aggression in the mid lane, but the landfall over the wall doesn't work that way. Sorry, Cheeto. However, Omega is cut off, can't go anywhere, and that will be blinked on by Lina. Misses the root, though, and that'll be the end of this aggression from Hakai, but Kumin want to turn this one around.
Wow, really? Omega? Omega?
That is
Dude, I
a
did. I missed on a
parallel
rooted target.
thrown away. There's no other way to say it. Look. It's game 5 of a best of 5. The tension is astronomical right now, and it's only the sort of feeling that you can understand if you've played in a game like this. All right, the stakes aren't that high, but this is Glaria. This matters to these people. This is really, really important to us. And I mean, you're gonna feel nervous at something as simple as a power hit on a rooted target. I mean, we see even the top players make mistakes like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the pressure's on at this point. This is it. This is the decider. This is your whole season. All absolutely compressed down into this one game. Do you go home winners or do you go home second winners or losers, as I like to call them? So yeah, really, really important. And Omega seemingly feeling the pressure there a little bit. We'll see if they can sort of relax into the game as it goes on.
You just need to shake it off, right? Those things happen. You have to let it go, and whatever, right? It's a potential drop kill. Even then, it wasn't confirmed. You know, it's not easy to take down a Maui. So you can say ifs, buts, or maybes all you want, but the important thing for Kumin is to let that off of their minds. And don't even talk about it. There's no need to discuss it. But the Master Fisherman into the turret there. A couple extra shots, that is. And Earthshaker very well placed, but Omega sniffs it out and will walk the other way. Still no first blood, but not for want of trying.
Yeah. Nice play by Omega. I was actually going to say how cool Omega was just prior to that messed up ult. Omega gone on and just held the ult, danced around a little bit, avoided some abilities, and then re-engaged. It was a really nice play. But yeah, looking to force out the beads. Well, maybe knew that Chio had those beads. Didn't want to go for like a slower play with the Daji ult, throw out a couple chains. You know, they're always going to get beads out. Went for sort of the guaranteed or the possibility of a kill with going with the insta pull, and it just didn't quite come off this time.
Yeah, it's of course a very valid strategy. You know, you can insta pull. It is extremely quick, and sometimes you have to feel confident that you have hit the shot, but you know, for whatever reason, didn't connect. And I've said that Kumin and Zumin shouldn't be talking about it. We've been talking about it for a while, but that's our job, I suppose. I think we'll have to let Omega off with this and have to keep an eye on how they play for the rest of the game. Because, by the way, there are 9 other players in this game who all equally have high stakes on the line. No aggression from anyone in these 11 minutes. I believe this is the longest we've seen First Blood. Maybe in the first game is a bit longer, but I can understand both of these teams wanted to play this one cautiously.
Yeah, definitely gonna take this one a little bit slower, and we'll see how it goes. I'll be looking for some aggression on the left-hand side here, but well warded is the map right now. It feels like nobody's getting caught out by these rotations. Everything's getting spotted, and neither of the junglers having much luck looking for something in a side lane. We might have to wait for an objective fight to really see First Blood come through. Gold Fury, it's about 12 minutes, I would say, is about when you start to look at it and feel confident. And there is the beads out of Cheeto. I don't know if they were necessary. Maybe didn't know where the mid laner and the jungler were at this time, so didn't want to get hit by that Heim ult or anything and be forced into a bad spot. So beads early, but now is in danger as the Gold Fury will be pulled.
When it's close and tight like that, something as small as a purification beads burn can be big. And there's Big Joe getting caught by a big rotation from Sped. The Earthshaker over the wall doesn't connect. There's the Powlow damage. The bees come out anyway. And that is the Gold Fury still on the table. For Kumin and Zumin, they do secure it. Astral Barrage comes out, can't find Albi. Big first objective goes the way of Kumin and Zumin, who get off to the exact start that they would have wanted.
Yeah, nice job there by Kumin and Zumin. It looked as if they were looking for the fight. A nice engage from Omega will connect with the chains, force out the beads, and pick up the kill onto Big Joe. So now Big Joe, no CC immune ult, so primed to go down again once Omega gets this ult back up. And they pick up the Gold Fury as well. Maybe a few too many resets on that. It is looking nervy round the board here for both teams. But Kumin and Zumin take control of this game with First Blood and the first objective.
Again, perfectly reiterated that this is tense. These players are nervous. There will be mistakes. Everyone is playing on edge right now, and we're seeing it from both teams. You know, I actually think the Searing Pain came out from Kai there to secure the goal to you, and he was actually late. Now, it didn't matter, but again, something small like that could make all the difference if this game continues to be so tight. Now, it is a decent lead for Kumin to pick up, but look at the pressure on left lane. That's almost a tier 1 tower gone down in favor of Mike. Now the levels are equal, but if that tower goes down, that equalizes the gold really, really quickly, and this game bounced on a knife edge.
For sure, yeah, and that dual lane pressure coming out from Mike. We have seen it consistently. I actually think this might be the game where Albi's doing the best. We haven't seen Albi on this Heim yet, but Albi seems to be faring better in the laning phase. Mike back on that round, which he's looked so good on, but Albi definitely holding their own this time.
This seems to be the one god that Mike just can't get the pressure advantage on, and I mean, understandable, but it's almost converted itself into a tier 1 tower, right? And this is the time where Albi needs to be discussing with his team, needs to be saying, look, I'm under pressure over here. Can we get a rotation in? And it's just not possible. Look, like you mentioned earlier, look at the ward coverage from both teams, but neither side is gaining a real advantage in it. Again, some more aggression coming out this time, though, from Hakai. Albi sniffs it out and is safe enough. This Pyromancer, though, may be coming under some pressure from Kumin and Zoomin.
Yeah, the team's just seeming to dance around each other in the jungle right now. You saw Maui up at the enemy back camps. You saw both junglers make their way over to Joe, and the ADC's backed out. There is the pro Big Joe. We talked about it. Great Aegis, though. Everything's mistimed, and Joe will survive for now, but down he goes eventually. Great execute by Azza right on the respawn off of the Capri ult. Looking for more, but the root comes through out of Yeet, and there's the damage onto Kai, and there is a big up down. Azza credited with the kill, but a lot of that comes out of Lina.
Big win fight for Hakai. Now they're charging forward. Mike made the rotation over early on, and now that is Yeet going to fall down too. Triple kill for Just Like Azza, really taking this game by the scruff of the neck. They're going to turn that triple into a Pyromancer. Gold lead evaporates for Kumin and rises for Hakai.
Yeah, Hakai looking good here. That one big fight on the solo side of the map. They had the rotation advantage. They got that initial ult. Onto Big Joe came through from Kumin, but the follow-up just came through too slowly. Joe survived a long time, and there was some overcommittal with the damage onto the Vulcan, and the turnaround comes through. Azza and Lina doing a great job in that one.
Yeah, it did fantastic to win the fight after the fact, right? It was all set in stone that Big Joe was going to go down there. Actually lived maybe a little bit longer than they should have due to some miscommunication on the exact timing there. But it's all about taking the fight afterwards, right? Like, everything was committed to Big Joe, and they stormed back through. Azza and Lina are going to have this space because, you know, if you look at the mid lane of Kumin, this Ra, if they're going to step up and get involved, they're almost... life is forfeit to an Achilles and a Raven. They can do nothing about it. They're just going to get run down. So it's all about the engage from one team, but then how does the counter engage or the continued sustained fight look for both sides? And again, there's been objectives, there's fights both ways, but this game really, really closely balanced. And I'm glad I don't have to predict this one.
Yeah, very much seeing even are these teams right now, and we'll see how the game evolves. This has been the story of most of the games, though, right? The early game, the mid game, we've come up to about 20 minutes, and then things have tilted one way or the other. But it seems that they kind of like they kind of measure each other out, they spar a bit, and then they get serious once they get into the late game.
Yeah, they're both teams similarly just sizing each other up at this. Like there was a pick onto Big Joe that was great because they previously set it up by getting the beads. But you know, other than that, there's really been not much of an attempt coming out from Kumin, at least to take a real engagement. But you know, we're seeing another grouping around this mid lane. See Azza making a rotation all the way over. This massive Achilles, by the way, still level 16, so parity with their opposing solo laner, but you know, have 3 kills, a lot of gold in pocket, I'm sure, but still equal in build as well with Sped on this Kukulin. This game is about as tight as it can get as the Primal Fury comes under some threat.
Yeah, nice decision making there by Albi. Recognizes that there's a pressure coming in. Blink 3 doesn't connect from Lina. We'll have to try and disengage. Beats forced out of Kai, and forward come the snipes. Azza absolutely chunking this Ra. And now who is his next victim? On to Yeet they go. Great knocked up by Sped. It's enormous. And Albi has arrived looking for damage. Cheeto chasing in. Lina down extremely low, and the execute doesn't connect.
The health bars on everyone is so low, and Omega does go down to Big Joe. Some great play from both sides there, fighting back and forth. Look at the health bar on Liner. We're going into single digits there for the moment. Now, they do pull the Primal Fury because they want to take this engagement. That's the beads out from Albi, but this Heim is hitting really hard onto Azza. That's an early Scarab's Blessing. Hakai do get the objective, though. Albi just not falling down the tower shot right as the timer expires. Calamity for Kumin and Zoomin. Hakai take the objective.
It was a nice idea. Send the Heim in there with the Scarab's Blessing, but nobody hit him. Nobody hit the Heim. He survives for too long, and then just as that Scarab's Blessing falls off, the last tick of damage comes through. Gold Fury and a kill for Hakai. They've got to be feeling pretty good now, opening up about a 2,000 gold lead. It's still not that much, right?
Yeah. It's definitely not insurmountable. It's just we kind of saw there the problem with the Ra pick. You saw the engage from line. It was easy. Just blinks up, tries to hit the damage, didn't even connect, but that was enough to take down this Ra. And, you know, then we see a fight come through from Kumin and Zoomin, which is a 4v5 that almost went really, really well for them. Sped came up massive with a 5-man Spear Mortal Pain. It is very uncommon to see that, but there's just not that big burst mage available. And now we're seeing a 2-level lead for Mike in this dual lane. Push all the way up to the tier 2 tower, but no rotation from Kumin means that there's just a lot of freedom right now for Rama, who hasn't really gotten too involved yet, but might start hitting real hard soon.
Yeah, Mike going down the same build path again, by the way, going this Devos into the Shadow Steel Exekins to follow. And then I think last time, was it a Silver Branch previously? Something like that. Really been getting good impact in these games as Mike, and consistently as well. Mike being really consistent in the way he plays this Ram on the Joe side of the map. At the moment, looking to rotate from base over to the solo side. We might be about to see a fight break out around this Pyromancer.
Yeah, there's definitely a grouping from Hakai, and starting to make their way over are Kumin and Zoomin. Now, we'll have to see exactly how this engagement goes, because this is where we've seen the games get out of control for one side or the other when it has gone this way. Now, Hakai have all the territory, but there is a grouping for Kumin and Zoomin, and they do have the split push. Now, it's 5 members of Hakai here, and they're just going to give up the Pyromancer to Kumin. They did not have Kai in position for it. It's a big commitment for this Pyro, but there's just no speed going down the left-hand side. Look at the time it's taking for Albi to take this tier 1 tower. There's a missed landfall there, but it creates that zone of control that Hakai needed to take another map objective down. Still, the split push continues on from Albi, but not having an impact just yet.
Yeah, one of the weaker things about Haim actually is his tower push, just so slow on those AAs, even with the cancels with your 3. Just a little, whoa, it's a long TP. Albi gets the heck out of there. We'll be safe with that TP out, but yeah, that's going to be on cooldown for a little bit. But yeah, Haim not the quickest at taking down towers when it comes to Hunter DPS on those objectives. There's characters you'd rather be split pushing with. Yeah,
definitely something that you want to consider, right? Because we've seen Albi take that style of play in all these games so far. It's been very common to see Albi on the dual lane just split pushing, and has had reasonable success with it here and there. But with Haim being a bit weaker at doing that because very slow autos, and really they need this Haim in the fights because as much as Spared has had a good time on the solo lane, in the dual lane, Albi's been pretty okay too, is very close in golden experience to Mike on this Rama, and will show up in the late game just as strongly. So you might want to start seeing some rotations coming out from this carry, because, I mean, Kumin need him. It's now or never, right? This is the final game. You need to show up. You need to come up big for your team, because there ain't no second chances anymore.
Yeah, and I quite like the idea of this backline playing together in teamfights once they start happening. The Ra and the Haim. The Haim can kind of peel for the Ra can heal and do damage and follow up. If you do get that Haim off onto somebody, you can follow up quite nicely with Ra. As FG down to about 20%. Forward goes Sped, looking for the root dashes on in there. Hakai, though, they've got the Vulcan ult, and they've got the Fire Giant snipes. 1, 2, 3. Mike does it again, all 3, and he takes down Omega.
Nailing the shots are Hakai now. Alarm bells need to be ringing for Kuman and Zoomin. They don't want to give up any more kills in this fight. Now they're giving chase. Hakai off the mark with the Searing Pain. Does hit a good Celestial Beam, but the landfall comes up huge. Pulls in 2 key targets. Now Sped comes in to peel for the backline. It is just a big dive coming out from Sped, and they will fall down for their transgressions. There is 5 members with Fire Giant pushing down a tier 2. Might turn their attention to Phoenix. Hakai really pushing forward now.
Yeah, what a fight out of Hakai. They just picked up the fire and nobody contested and nobody contested and nobody contested. And I didn't even notice until you said it was down to 20%. They just keep the DPS up. They have the secure. The Raz not in position to look for the steal. And that's it. They get that solo side tier 2, and now a commanding lead for Hakai. 6,000 gold, FG on all 5, and they have this game in the palm of their hands. They just need to not fumble this one.
Look, there have only been 2 games so far where Hakai have taken Fire Giant, and in both of those games, they went on to win them. Is this a sign of things to come? But can Kuman turn this one around? They try to sneak away an objective, which they found success with in this set so far, but Hakai on the ball this time, and will get the Oni Fury for themselves. They extend their gold lead, they get pressure all across the map. Oh man, how do Kuman come back from this one?
I don't know. It's going to be really, really difficult for them. They need to look for a great snipe, perhaps, from Kai on a base defense. That's going to be that's my immediate thoughts. If they can pick that up, do a lot of damage to the backline, and then maybe have a good dive. Sped, I feel like, has been getting pretty good engages, so maybe a blink knock up out of that Kakullan could set up for some damage. But right now, they're almost relying on mistakes. Hakai need to make fairly serious misplays to let Kuman and Zoomin back in.
Well, we've discussed, though, that because of the situation and how tense these players might be feeling, there is room for mistakes. Now, you never want to rely on mistakes, but that is pretty much the territory that Kuman are into. But the mistake might come up from Albi instead as they start to get burned down. That's a big stun coming through. The Aegis is nice. The dash is better. The Astral Barrage in the sky. There's one. There is a Scarab's Blessing. Should keep Albi alive. Does find the shot just to flex it. And now Omega has to retreat because this tier 2 tower gets burned down.
Nice target practice for Mike there. It's a surprise that Mike's been able to get this ramp so much, but I guess it shows just how well other players have been playing on other things, that you cannot ban this away forward. Will go Sped, looks for the engage. Root comes out.
Oh, no!
No, Sped just can't survive it. Shredded through by the auto attacks. The Rasnak does connect, but it's just not enough at this stage in the game. Forward, will go Lionel. The junglers trade places, but Omega doesn't make it out, and that's going to be the finish and maybe the game. Triple kill for Mike.
Triple kill for Mike. Hakai charge into the base. They've got the broom in their hands. They're ready to secure this reverse sweep. There's still a tier 2 tower up. Can they find the damage back? There's a lot of damage being dealt out. Hakai does pick up Cheeto. Now Albi starts to swing, but can't do enough damage. The Titan is so low. Getting shut down is another kill for Hakai, but it's too late. It's too late. Kuman and Zoomin fall down. Hakai take the Titan down in another very quick game. It was a long set. It went all the way, went the full distance, but Hakai sweep away Kuman and Zoomin with the backhand reverse sweep, and that is it for your Glorious Smite League lower division. Your champions this season are Hakai.
Congratulations, Hakai. What a comeback. That's got to feel pretty goddamn good. The 3-2, they go in a game down, they lose the first game, they've got their backs to the wall throughout, but they come back 3 games in a row. What a result for them.
A fantastic performance from Hakai. I said this during our breaks, but 30 minutes into our second game that we were casting, I said, I feel like this is it. I feel like that was it, and we were just going to get a 2-game set, but absolutely not. It did not happen. Hakai turn it all the way around. Fantastic set. What a show for Amateur Smite. That is as good as it gets. That is fantastic for us to watch. But I've been Judas. I've been joined by Hayzer. Hayzer, do you have any final thoughts on what you've just watched?
Oh, just congrats to Hakai. Thanks for having me on. It's been great to watch. It's been, I'll say it's been a higher quality of Smite than I expected. Everybody played great. Congrats to both teams. You both played great. And good luck next year.
Fantastic. But that is it from us. We will send you guys back in the very capable hands of Supersonic Blur and East to see us off on this night today.
There is a phrase that I have used time and time again in games, in sets. It's not throwing, it's just making the game interesting. Game 1 wasn't throwing, it was just making the set interesting. Hakai come back in their reverse sweep. Game 1, they were asleep, but Game 3, night and day here, East. What a performance coming in for this set.
Yeah, they've turned it around, really. I think every single person, if you asked them at the start of the set, who do you think is going to win this, they would have said Kuman and Zoomin, even if it started at 0-0. The fact it started at 1-0, you're definitely expecting Kuman and Zoomin to win this. Massive favourites going in, especially when they get to 2-0 up, but a great reverse sweep from Hakai.
Absolutely phenomenal, and just great synergy. That's like the key word coming through from Hakai. Every player playing around these team fight kind of comps, giving Mike something that can just get pressure on its own and then run away with the game. Liner being able to just do whatever they want. Cheeto, giving Cheeto something aggressive that's a playmaker. Huge work there. I mean, when you have 12 kills in a game and your support is involved in all of them, that's a great look for your team.
Absolutely. I think everyone on Hakai for these last 3 games has played absolutely fantastic. And they just worked better together as a team in the last 3 games, which is amazing to see, really, because going into mid-season, the start of the season, mid-season, even slightly afterwards, they'd not been playing together as well as they could have been. And then through roster changes, a few role swaps, things like that, they ended up being absolutely fantastic together, as you can see today.
Indeed, a phenomenal performance coming through. And what a way to go out at the end of the season. As was said, that's it for these draft sides of things. That's it for the season as well. We got team of the season here in the lower division. As you can see, Speed, Liner, Kyran, Cheeto, and Sparkfire. These are the players who you can see. 2 members from each of the 2 finals teams. Some phenomenal performances coming through across the board for them. And while that may be the end for this season, we do have Season 3 coming up. Again, a look here at your champions for the lower division. Azra, Liner, Kyra, Cheeto, and Mike27 are phenomenal performance looking out there. But if you do want to get involved for the next season with Season 3, do be sure to go on over to the Discord. You've got captain signups going on, and I believe that sometime in the beginning of January, mid-January, you'll be looking to go ahead and join. So if you want to go ahead and get involved in the next Galeria Smite League, then do be sure to go on over there. And who knows, maybe next year, we'll see you around here. But for now, I have been Supersonic Blur, joined here on the desk by Yeast. Thank you once again to Judas and our special guest Hayzer for joining us for the cast. And finally, our wonderful production princess Printers, for whom without, well, we wouldn't be able to bring you this at all. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We hope to see you around next time.